All of us car builders think we're cool because we have the cool cars. And so a lot of guys think, oh, my shop's fine, or I'll clean it up tomorrow. Does your shop look like the place that builds the cars you want to build?
Oof, that's good.
It takes a legitimate guy to build a legitimate car. And so you got to dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Mm-hmm. We joke about it from back in the day is like, you could dupe a lot of people just by buying a Snap-on box because as soon as they walk in, they're like, oh, these guys are serious. And
he's just in debt.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's funny that you say that, like investing in yourself. And we've constantly, repeatedly done it. Now we're at a point where like we're trying to make the shop super presentable. We just did epoxy floors. Everyone went wild for it. We put the cars on the epoxy floor and they're like, oh, shit, it looks so much better already. I was like, okay.
You didn't do a thing.
I didn't do anything, but the presentation is so much better.
Well, just imagine when you met your wife, if she dressed like your shop is.
Nice.
I watched a few of your guys' videos. I just,
oh no.
It's some introductions.
Nice to officially meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we follow your videos. That's why we got to talk to you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Don't judge us by ours.
Our marketing budget struggles, if you can't tell.
Don't we know it, man?
It looks like $1 million production.
Nah.
Yeah, no, I have a face made for radio in a podcast world.
Nah, you got good content, man. It's really good.
We're trying. They tell me I'm authentic.
Yeah, dude. And that's the most important thing of all, isn't it?
And I don't watch a single one of them because I wouldn't let them post it.
That's all we were.
People asked me about it, and I'm like, I didn't even watch it.
That's the best way to do it. I used to do that in the early too. It's like you'd go over it 100 times and it would never come out.
Yeah.
Now we just send it.
Yeah.
Causes a ruckus once in a while, but seems to be working out.
Yes.
I mean, if you're just being authentic, whatever you put out there is going to be what you want it to be anyway. So it's all good.
Yeah, and it's what you would say normally. It's how it really is, and it's who you are. And you're not trying to be an actor. You're not trying to say pretty things. You're not trying to say slick things.
So true. So true.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah, we had like a moment like years ago where we're just like, you know what? We're not movie stars. We ain't gonna try to be cool. We're just gonna just do what we do and be who we are. And once you like grasp onto that mentally, you're like, you know what? This is actually easy. Then who cares? Let's just send it, because what you're talking about is what you love, anyways.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's great.
Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Modified with Trickfactory Customs. If this is the first time watching, my name is Elvis.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Rob.
And we have an amazing guest on today. I feel like I say that for every episode, but
they're all amazing.
They're all amazing. But this is Mr. Rodger Lee of Ironworks.
Speed Kustom.
Yeah, Speed Kustom in California. And they build amazing cars. Like, we literally sit in the shop whenever you guys have an episode, and because we have lunch together as a team, and so we literally just watch your videos whenever you're doing like the walk and talks and all of that. And yeah, so we're very excited today.
And you make us feel bad about ourselves.
Is that on a Friday? Because I hope that there's way better things to watch than that. I'm surprised.
No, man. We're going to give you a lot of credit. You put out great content. Anybody listening, watching this video, go to Ironworks Speed Kustom. You guys do great stuff. And you have a lot of really great things in your world that we're looking forward to digging into today. So
I have a lot going on.
No,
you do. You do.
I know. Every time we watch one of your videos, I'm just like, oh my God, there's so many cars in there.
It's awesome. It's very inspiring.
We have a big monster to feed.
Yeah.
We're 12 guys in the shop, something like that right now. We've been in business 24 years. We have a lot of, I would say we're right about 40 or 50% of our customers is all repeat guys.
Wow.
So they kind of know the game. One guy I've built 14 cars for.
Wow, that's amazing.
Another guy I've done 5 or 6. So another guy is like 3. I have quite a few guys that are like 2 or 3 right in there. So we kind of know, they just know the game, which makes it easy. And I've just always tried to run it to where you want to make this process fun.
Yeah.
I see so many guys that have cars built and they're so frustrated with the process that when they get done, they don't want anything to do with the car, even though it might be perfect and it might be awesome and it might be all that. They're just tired of it.
Yeah. That's so common to hear. And you've kind of created programs in which to help guys like us and other businesses, make that process smooth.
We have a group that's been around for the Fabricators Union, which is on Facebook. That's a completely private group. It's probably been around for 10 or 12 years, something like that.
I've been on there for a while. I just sort of quietly follow.
It's not as cool as it used to be. Like if a new guy gets in it, he can scroll to the bottom and usually see a bunch of answers to his questions. But I think it's just kind of gotten to this point where a lot of guys just use it to vent because they're still doing the same thing over and over, and it can't be them because they're awesome car builders. And so I think just a lot of guys are afraid to say something as if it's wrong, even though we can all learn from each other. And so that's where the idea for the business classes came from, is just having a place where it's a dedicated, you have guys that are serious enough to pay for airfare, serious enough to pay for the class, serious enough to take a day or so off of work if they can. And, most of the classes have been held at my shop in Bakersfield, California. And so you just don't fly into LA and get, 20 minutes away, you're there. Like you can fly into Bakersfield, but you got to fly somewhere else. And you got to do those things. And so a lot of guys have all in each group, there's been 10 to 20 people in each class. And I think we've done 8. And so you create a bond with those guys that you've learned are serious. And the interesting part that I've had is most of the guys that have come to the California class are in another time zone east. We've had more people from Texas. We've had 2 or 3 times more people from Texas than we have from California.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know what that says about California.
Yeah, we've been trying to get down to your class, but timing hasn't really worked out. But we've been following along, and I've listened to you on a bunch of other podcasts. So it's like, my question is, how did you get to this point? Like, what inspired you to take the class? Because I've been in Fabricators Union for probably 5 or 6 years as well. And like you say, a lot of it just gets repetitive bitching and moaning about stuff. And it's the same people all the time. So
you noticed it too.
Yeah. So I kind of checked out a little bit, but then I started following you once you've done this. And me and him, we're going to try to get into the September class if we still can. But like, what inspired you to put on a class? Like, somebody must have.
I really don't know. I think it's because I try so hard that a lot of people would call me for advice. And then there's the business side of me, which I think has developed over 24 years of survival, that kind of was like, you know what? I would like to do this class, but I also don't really want to give up my weekends for free. And I think there's a point where in every car builder, there's a point where you're no longer crazy for cars, where you'll sacrifice every single thing in your life, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your kids, whether it's whatever. And you start to realize, okay, this whole messing around in the shop thing is fun, but I would like to not live at my parents' house. And I would like to actually have my own car. And I would like to, we really try to push just owning your building. Because that changes so much stuff of, at least, because I look at the hourly rate into three sectors. There's 1/3 of the pie goes to the employees, and that's getting higher and higher with just the nature to pay. You're having to pay even more than it used to be. And so that's like 40% with benefits and all the other stuff if you're trying to be really legit. And then you've got another 1/3 that kind of goes to rent and just the basic things that are in the shop that just buying your equipment, all the stuff that's kind of a long-term investment. Your long-term lease, or mortgage, your long-term tools, all the big stuff that you're buying. And then the last third kind of goes to just maintaining the shop. So buying your bandsaw blades, buying the consumables that you can't charge for, power to the building, insurance, things like that. And you hope that there's a little bit left in that third to take some profit from.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but if you continue to give that away and you continue, you know, if you don't find the confidence to take pride in your work, because I mean, I really think what we do is highly technical. And if you're going to drive the car and if the car's going to perform, I mean, it's one thing to just push this thing in the trailer and brill it out and you polish it up and get a prize for it and do that thing. But when you're going to drive it and it's going to do all the things that cars are supposed to do, that, you know, I see you guys do a lot of different kinds of cars, or you cover a lot of cars.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff where, like, I don't want to make excuses for cars that they're like, well, even though it's really pretty and it's got all this cool stuff, it's still an old car and drives like crap.
Yeah.
I think those days have come and gone, like transition probably in the last 10 years. Like we talk about it all the time, like serviceability and reliability and making a good car, because so much of the stuff that even we have come through the door, you're like, what in the hell is this? Like, so we end up fixing up a lot of stuff. And like you say, we have customers that come that are like so exhausted with the process because people have spent so much time on aesthetics and not the mechanics of it. And then they just like, I just want to get rid of this fucking thing. Like, I'm over it. So it's like, it's definitely transition. Like, you want to have fun with these things. And like, I don't know, you've hit so many points right now, I can't even, my mind's boggled. Because like, we're in the same spot where it's like, this has to start making sense. Like, we've been doing this as well for like 20 years and we're constantly reinvesting. And you live this life and then you give it all to the shop. Now it's like, hey, we got to start pulling something out of this thing. Otherwise, we're going to run out of time. Like,
well, and I had a friend of mine who owned a printing company, and for some reason he was very passionate about printing stuff, business cards and church newsletters and all these types of things. And I'm sure it's the same people who laugh at me for being passionate about cars, but I just don't understand why you'd be excited to make business cards. You're like, wait, what? But he told me after he'd done this for 20 years that he just employed his own job. And so he worked 60 hours a week to make a 40-hour-a-week paycheck or less. He did all these things, gave up Saturdays, gave up all these things to not have, you should have more for it at some point. I understand you're going to invest in it. You're going to work harder. You're going to create the systems. You know, when you move into your building, you've got to organize all this stuff. You've got to do those things. But at some point, it should start to pan out. Mm-hmm. And so, and I think that's what going back through the Fabricators Union, to answer your question, I wanted to do more. I enjoy seeing the differences in the guys' businesses that can turn those things around. There's some guys that are just, they think they're going to come to the class and it's going to tell them some miraculous thing, and they're going to go home and this one thing's going to change your life. And you're like, no, the only thing that's going to change your life is, hold on, this point here, where's it? I don't know. There's you.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to, and I'm a firm believer that the more you invest in your business, the better cars you're going to get to build. Mm-hmm. Because if you lived at your mom's house and worked in her garage and had a crappy, flux core welder, are you ever going to attract the guy that you want to build a car for? Because it takes a legitimate guy to build a legitimate car. Mm-hmm. And so you, as my friend Kenny has told me, you've got to dress for the job you want, not the job you have. Mm-hmm. And so I think that same thing comes into your shop. Do you dump the trash every day? Do you sweep the floor? Does your shop look like the place that builds the cars you want to build?
Oof, that's good.
That's brutal. Huh?
Yeah. Because we literally just did a move and did a bunch of renovations and all this kind of stuff. And like, we joke about it from back in the day is like, we transitioned from one quality of tools to another quality of tools. So then we did all the big Snap-on things and made the investment and transitioned. And it's like right away, people's perception, like you could dupe a lot of people just by buying a Snap-on box. Because as soon as they walk in, they're like, oh, shit, these guys are serious. Like, they got all the stuff. And it was...
he's just in debt.
Yeah. Yeah, ours is paid for, so we love that. But yeah, it's funny that you say that, like investing in yourself, and we've constantly, repeatedly done it. Now we're at a point where like we're trying to make the shop super presentable and do all these different things like to another level. Like it's never been a shit show, but like now we're trying to make it. It seems like people, like the people that want to build those cars, want to come to a shop just like what you said that looks a certain way, and it's like it doesn't necessarily make sense from a shop perspective, like, you know, for housekeeping and all that kind of stuff, but they want to see, I don't know, like they'll spend more money if they can go to some place that looks, I don't know, like we just did epoxy floors. Everyone went wild for it. It's like now they're excited because even us, like we put the cars on the epoxy floor and they're like, oh shit, it looks so much better already. I was like, okay, I didn't do anything, but the presentation is so much better. Like it's, you know.
Well, just imagine, I mean, I'm guessing you guys are 30s, 40s, somewhere in that
50.
era.
Yeah.
I'm 30s, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting out there.
50. Yeah.
50? Way to go.
We've been at it for a while.
49. So, but imagine when you met your wife, if she dressed like your shop is.
Nice enough. Yo, no.
I wish you'd have said that like 15 years ago.
Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yo, that's such a good reference.
Oh, but it's true. Like it's all in the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it is like it is what it is. Like, and it's, but it goes into, and then I would take it further is, do you create a shop that people want to work at? Do you create a shop that looks like the customers you want? Does it look like you're going to take pride in the cars they're doing? Like we get in every class that we do this like onboarding questions. And a lot of guys there's a lot of questions we ask about billing efficiency, a lot of stuff like that. But we also ask for like 5 pictures of their shop. Because I want to see if what they're telling us matches up to what it is. And because you get a lot of guys who are like, oh, yeah, I mean, we got like 20 years of work in here. And you're like, well, we're out back. Do the cars outside really count? Like, you know, and so they put on, because all of us car builders think we're cool. We all think we're cool because we have the cool cars and because we have all this. And it just seems like it's a natural thing in our industry. And so a lot of guys think, oh, my shop's fine, or I'll clean it up tomorrow. Or I really think a lot of guys get so distracted in just the day-to-day running of the business that they just don't have any more time in the day. Yeah. Because they're probably not charging enough. They're not explaining it to the customer enough. They're not doing all the business stuff that makes their business that much harder to run. And so then they end up in this position to where they just can't keep up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think everybody would dream of having a really nice shop.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think it's fairly, evident that most of us that got into this world, this creative automotive world, is like most of us are not businessmen, you know?
At all.
Like, so we're like floundering, like we're just barely making it stay alive. Right.
It's your passion. I didn't get into this because I'm like, well, I think if I built enough cars, I could be like Elon Musk.
Right. It just doesn't happen.
You know, if it would make a lot. I look at my friend, there's a friend of mine named Rodger who opened an air conditioning company at the same time I did. And we live in Bakersfield where it gets really hot. Sounds like a lot smarter business than building cars. Because there's a need for it. There's all those things. Now, I think car guys are similar to drug addicts because it just doesn't change. It just doesn't change. You are either like and I hate to say it like this, but you're kind of either an addict or you're not. But a car guy, I think I deal with guys who are very wealthy guys, and I think if they lived under a bridge, they would be like, oh, that was a 69 Camaro that drove by on the bridge. And that's for these car guys.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, I don't even know what turned it on for me at a young age, but there was something I saw or did that forever changed me to, that's all I care about is cars. Like, in my older age, I found some other things that are different, but I think if you had to say, well, you got to get rid of this one and you got to get rid of this one, at some point it would go right back down to just cars on some level, because I either want to drive them or race them or make them cool. And I just think I was always drawn to making things. I played with Legos all the way up until I got a car. Like, I think the day I got my first car is when the Legos were no longer touched.
Nice.
I think we kind of still play with Legos.
My daughter, they deep in Legos, so I'm doing it all the time.
I try to play Legos, I just can't sit on the floor long enough.
I know, right? I could get down there. It's the getting up part that's the rough part.
Or stepping on them in the middle of the night.
Oh, that's the worst part. That's
No. No, it is so true though. Like you're talking about having like clients that have been back 2, 3, 12 times, you know, and you've created this relationship in the process of this, of building their dream, so good for them that they can't help but coming back. Like that's the ultimate crack addict, you know, and like,
and they joke about it.
Yeah.
I have 2 friends of mine that go to games together, you know, different sporting events, and they joke about how hanging out with Rodger is dangerous.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's funny, but they enjoy the process. They enjoy those things, and I think it gives them a break from whatever big smart business things they're doing. But I think at the end of the day, whether if they weren't wealthy, they would still be into cars. We probably wouldn't be doing as much business together.
Yeah.
It just takes money to keep the lights on and do all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So do you have a process for finding those guys? Because like over the course of like our whole time here, we're kind of leading into those guys now. Now we joke that we have like 10 customers. Like we don't, you know, people aren't coming in and out of the door, and we're doing repeat stuff for these guys, multiple vehicles. But it's taken us this long to get to a point where we've found those people that enjoy the actual process. Because we have the guys where it's like, I got a show on Friday. Can you have it done? You're like, no, like that's not like it's in bare metal. No, we can't paint it and assemble it by Friday. Like what TV show were you watching? So it's like getting rid of those, like transitioning out of those type of customers. We kind of have like a bit of a vetting process. Like if you haven't built anything before, then we probably don't want to mess with you. Like I don't want to be the one to train you into being a customer. Whereas if you have been through the process, it's definitely a lot easier because they understand it and they've been through it. And then the customers that recognize that they enjoy the process more than the final result, those guys have been great for us because they know it costs money, they know it costs time, they know there's going to be hiccups, and then it's fun. But some of these other guys that it's always deadline, and then like a new thing that we've done, like we've done it in the past, but now we have somebody that does renders for us. So but having someone full time here that does that kind of stuff has exposed a couple of straggler customers that we have. So you sit down, like, tell us exactly what you want. Let's draw it. Let's get it organized. And they don't know what they want. Yet they want a quote and they want a timeline. You're like, well, I don't know what you want me to build, and I don't know what it's going to cost. So, like, right away, it's exposed these people, like, right at the onset. And it's like, see, this is the problem. You're putting it on me that I'm not going fast enough, but I don't know what I'm doing. So how can I do it at any rate?
Yeah, but I completely agree with what you're saying. But I also feel like it takes time to get the guys you want. But I think you can also inadvertently chase off the wrong guys if you're, I don't know a better word, so don't take this the wrong way, but if you're a little snobby.
Yeah.
Like
Well, we're trying not to do that. That's why I'm wondering if you have a process for like kind of interviewing customers to get a feel.
And I've been working on that myself because now that, I mean, even guys from Canada are calling me to be on a podcast. We're putting our videos. So the phone rings a lot.
Yeah.
And we also get a bunch of spam calls because the Nigerian people are very busy calling me, telling me that we inherited a lot of money.
I'm from Nigeria, so.
He's an actual Nigerian prince.
Yeah. But it is a true story, though.
They do exist. He was one of them.
Yeah. So is that how you guys? Is that how you became a business owner? So we decided not to answer the phone because most guys who call on the phone, I would get like, and this happens a lot, right from about Valentine's Day till mid-May. Somebody got $2,500 in their refund, and that car in the driveway is gonna get hooked. So they're calling, and when you don't answer it the first time, they call back the second time. They call back the third time. And then usually I used to enjoy picking up the phone the fourth time just to play with them and be like, do you really want the guy who was sitting here like, man, I hope somebody got a tax refund so we got something to do tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I've been going through, there's a thing on YouTube. If you look up Dan Martell, I signed up for his business coaching class about 5 months ago, maybe. And because I wanted to learn other stuff, like you can watch, and his YouTube stuff is great. But there's more that he talks about where he talks about sell by chat. There's a lot of other stuff they talk about. And there's a lot of things where I'm like, I don't know if you're going to sell multi-$100,000 cars in chat on Instagram.
Yeah.
But it really made me start to think of what's called like a sales funnel. And so because of these great YouTube videos that we're putting out, we've had more phone calls. And so which brought in more voicemails, brought in more. Then you have to call the guy and you spend time on the phone with them. And you do these things to where you're like, 10 minutes in, you're like, yeah, this is not the guy, but I got to figure out how to get out of this phone call. This guy telling 12 people that I'm an asshole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, or that he's, he thinks his stuff don't stink, or he, whatever you want to say. And so I've been really trying to push these guys into a sales funnel on my website. So I created some questions and we've been fine tuning the questions. And I think currently in the political economic status that I would say United States and Canada and just all this uncertainty that's kind of there with tariffs and all that has slowed down real people. That's fair.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I've been dealing with a lot of guys because I created one thing on my email list that says, because I try to ask these questions that are almost the same question, just 4 different ways. And one of them's like, well, how much are you looking to spend on this project? Well, the first thing I do is I ask for their address. And then I ask for their zip code and all that so I can Google it and be like, does this guy even have a 2-car garage?
That's a good point.
So I do that right away. Now I do it. I creep everywhere. As soon as I see any addresses. Yeah, that when my daughters get older, it'll be interesting what that happens. But, and so, but I do that as one funnel just to see, like, do they have a place to do it? Or do they just live in this shanty? Like, and I've had mobile homes. Guys, give me the mobile home address, and I've had different things like that. And so, but then it goes into what are you expecting a project like this to cost? And it says 0 to 100, and then I put like LS swap, some examples of what 0 to 100 gets you, and then like what 200 to 400 gets you, and kind of stuff like that. And then I have one that's like another number down. And I for months now, I've gotten guys who they click on the top one because they want it 0 to 100, but they go down here to the bottom and they want it the front page at SEMA. Like, you can't. It says right here like this, but they're clicking like. And finally, I've had a few. I had a guy the other day that, because one of the boxes is like, I just really don't know. And I can respect that answer of somebody who's like, because there may be a guy who's like, okay, I've seen all your Chevelles. They're badass. Maybe they're more badass than all the other stuff I see. I can hope that's what they're saying. And so, but I don't really, and I've seen your interiors. I've seen this. I know if you're tall, there's more room in your cars. I know there's all these things, but like, what does it cost? And I can respect that question because a guy doesn't want to just get locked into something, and you don't want to get locked into it and be like, oh, this guy's only got $20.
Yeah.
And so, but like this last weekend, I really felt like in changing it around, I got a guy who his budget line kind of agreed with this line here, and he sound fairly legitimate. And so come to find out, he's a doctor and does this and does that, but he's not sure if he wants to spend this much money. He can't quite see the difference between the Chevelles that we do and this hokey Chevelle thing in the middle, in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
And because he doesn't, but it's going to take education. And I'm like, well, first of all, you're going to decide, are you even willing to spend that money if you have that much money? And if you are, then, you should probably come drive these. But if you're just not going to wrap your head around that, man, this car could cost this much money, then you should probably not come up here and drive one of our cars. Because if you drive one of our cars, you're going to be like, any other Chevelle you get into probably isn't the same way, especially if you bought it for $80,000 off of eBay.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, even though it's got an LS motor, and he's like, well, this guy's a dealer in Sacramento. And I'm like, yeah, that scares me. Because this guy's reselling cars, and there's no pictures. It's all videos. Like, there's just a whole bunch of stuff that you can't see what it looks like on the underneath. It was just painted and it's only got 8 miles on it, and, just all those typical stories. And so in doing that, I think you have to figure out a way to invest in those guys. But I also encourage these guys to be like, I just want you to know there's no such thing as a dumb question. Because you want them to feel comfortable to ask you, because hopefully you as the car builder is smarter about building cars than this guy. And so that's why they're coming to you, is to do that. And so you want to make them feel comfortable with those things if they want to do it. Some guys just want to have the car. Some guys just want to get the car and brag about the car. Some guys just want to win trophies. Some guys want to drive the cars. Some guys want to go through the process of building the cars. There's guys I built cars for that really, when it's over, they're like, something else. I don't even know what to do with. I don't know what I want to do with this thing. It's awesome. It's perfect. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
But I just enjoy coming in and talking about, we're going to paint this red and paint this black and make this carbon fiber and do this and do these different things. And I like the process of it.
Yeah.
And so I just try to spend a lot of time with that. But as marketing and your stature and stuff like that in the industry builds, you have to figure out a way to not spend your whole day on the phone, because 1 time out of 100, it might be a real guy who really wants it. But then there might be guys where they just don't know. They could be some Bitcoin guy that's like, I got tons of Bitcoin and I want to do this, but it doesn't matter what it costs, but I still want to understand how much, why is it like this?
Yeah.
Why does it take so long? Why can it not be done on Friday? And there's guys, like you said, most guys aren't worth spending the time with.
Which is tough, because then you do come across like an asshole. And like right now, our big transition is we do have some great customers that are leaning more into the stuff that we want to do. Like, we do a lot of scanning and CAD design and trying to get more serious about it and create really good, well-performing stuff. But we have a handful of the hot rod guys, I guess I would call them. Like, they're a little bit older. Their cars are terrible for the most part. And you're always fixing stuff on them, like constantly trying to get them to, sort of bring them up to speed. And those guys, I find, consume the most of our time. Like, we have one old guy. He's a lovely guy, but he'll stop in to use our bathroom. But he's a customer, and he has that old school customer mindset where it's like, you're working for me now. And it's like, whoa, I'm doing work for you. I don't work for you. So just calm yourself. So like trying to transition out of those guys to these guys has been a little bit like they take it really personally. Like, hey, we don't want to work on your car anymore because we want to be doing these kind of things. So like transitioning from that sort of, like you said, do all kind of, like take on all comers, and now transitioning into better stuff has been a little bit of struggle. It's like breaking up with like 8 different girlfriends at the same time. Like it's, so.
Well, and there's a thing I learned in the Dan Martell thing is the people that are with you at this point in your business are probably not going to be there where you get to the point of where you want to be. You hope they are, but there might be people who are not adequately, their personality, their skill level, all these things may not be where you want to be. Like, the things that were important before, you may have built all your chassis on cars before, and now you're going to buy all your chassis from the Roadster shop.
Yeah.
So you may have differences like that. And because there's guys that, I've invested a lot in, and they've left and gone somewhere else, and they did it not the best way. And sometimes it just sucks that you invest a bunch in them, but you also realize maybe they weren't going to be adequate for where we're going.
Yeah.
And so you know, and maybe it's the same with customers. There's just some customers that got you through where you were at. And I think that's what we talk a lot about that in our class of choosing your lane and deciding what your business is going to be and what circumstances are also dictating what your business is going to be. If you're not, like for me, I've never been a paint and body guy. So I have one guy and a paint booth that work here, and we outsource a ton of work to other shops because I've just never been super efficient at managing it. It's just not my strong suit, but fabrication, design, CAD design, integrating all that stuff together is kind of my strong suit. And so getting all those things to work in that, I want to focus on that. But I also realized some of these cars, like the 35 Chevy or the Mustang that we finished in the past couple of years that have been highly successful, I call them spaceships, and they take a ton of my time. They take this like weird gray area time in between the fabricators and the assembly guys, and you can make this super badass thing that you machine, and then you're like, well, we're just going to paint all this and paint all that, and you're like, well, how are you actually going to mask that? Like, how are you actually going to do this? And so I see this with a lot of guys who make really cool parts, but the tape lines suck and all this stuff that goes on them because it just sucks and you can't do it well. And so you have to start thinking of how you make the parts where it's able to be done cleanly and able to be put in the car and able to function. And then you have to start learning, like, depending on what you're making, that it actually works. Mm-hmm. You know, and so I've just gotten to the point where I'm trying to find that middle ground for me where I'm not sure how many more spaceships I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, the 35 Chevy that we worked on for 8 years, and it's amazing, but you
get tired of looking at it after a period some time.
Like, what's the purpose for it? Like, we're going to go drive it at the Gathering of the Rock, but this car will never have the miles on it that other cars I've built for that guy have. Mm-hmm. And you get in there and you're like, okay, don't fart. Okay, don't work. Don't do that. But like, the pedals are so perfect and the floors are so perfect, and just don't put your feet anywhere.
Wow.
And don't touch anything. And, you know, and it's cool to look at. And, you know, but it's hard to get it. Like, I actually think I'm going to go do some more tuning on it on the dyno so that we're not scratching up the bottom side to get it where it's drivable, which I don't really understand what the point of that is. Like, why tune it to be driven if you're not going to drive it?
Yeah, so true. There's like a breaking point almost in that process of like creation and pushing yourself so far down or up there where it's just like, man, this thing is too nice now. It's too nice.
And too unusable.
Yeah, regardless if it functions perfectly or not, it's just too much.
Yeah, like, and I would still probably machine some. If a guy wants to build this car we're going to drive the wheels off of, it can have one-off wheels. And if we want to machine a crazy grill, we can machine a crazy grill. I'll still do all those things under the guise of whatever happens to this car, it's going to get driven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like, I mean, in some of your videos, you got a huge shop. You got a lot of really, really great looking projects on the go. And then, of course, you have your Legacy series Chevelles or A-bodies, which is super, super cool. They look like they're really, really fun. And that, I could almost imagine how that sort of just makes you feel like this is great. I love this.
Yes. And I'm really kind of taking all the craziness that was in the 35 Chevy and putting it into the way the Chevelles drive. Mm-hmm. And so, like, not this weekend, but next weekend, so a week and a half from now on Thursday, we're leaving to go to a road rally in Northern California. Mm-hmm. And it's the supercar road rally. And it's all Porsche. It's tons of Porsches, some Ferraris, and a few McLarens, and 2 Chevelles.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
And so we're taking some big fat girls to go race with all the Porsche guys on the back road right there. We should do well. It should be fun. I'm hoping to change some of the stigma that comes with that, where I hope when we roll up, they're like, you don't have a trailer here? Like, no, we drove 6 hours from Bakersfield in these things.
Yeah.
We'll do the tour, and then we'll drive home on Sunday.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
It's really cool.
And so I hope that they look inside and, you know, But I'm doing it for marketing.
Wow.
To show what the Chevelles will do, because I think that's just kind of the direction I want to go. But I've been really trying to work on comparison as well, as you don't really know what, like I'm a barbecue guy. So you can go down to a barbecue joint and have some barbecue and you're like, oh, this is really good. This is the best I've had. And so that's your new bar. And then you'll go somewhere else and you're like, oh, this is the new best I've had. You don't really know, like, so what could you do to make it better?
Yeah.
Well, you could maybe make it more rare or more cooked or more fire or more smoke or whatever it is. But until you've tried something new, you might have thought your mom's cooking was great until you were in the food next door and you're like, this is not.
Yeah.
And so that level of comparison is what I've been trying to do and I've been trying to drive some sports cars. I've been trying to work on suspension valving. I've been trying to learn that type of stuff, of pushing this stuff further and further, because all those guys that advertise that these cars have sports car handling, I've never driven a sports car.
Yeah, does it actually?
Like, I put a ton of work in the past 2 months. I put a ton of work into power steering pumps, alignment geometry, shock spring rates, and we've done spring rates for a long time, but we made some other changes to go with the valving, to go with the custom valving that we've done in these shocks, and they're getting really good.
Yeah.
And then you hear guys who are like, oh, this chassis runs just like a new supercar. And you're like,
Yeah. That's pretty cool, though, that you're pushing, like, you're not just building, you're not just doing fabrication and all that. You're also doing stuff, and you're actively learning to increase the knowledge. That's so cool.
Some of it's hard. Some of it's taxing. And you have to spend some of your own money to, the power steering pumps was a thing where, so like we ran the Speed Tech chassis for a long time on the first 5 cars, and we made those cars drive great. We did our own shock valving, did all our own stuff, but there was a nuance with the LT motors, especially in LT4, because it idles at 600 RPMs, and it'll rev to 6,500, $7,000. Well, because the LT4, the power steering pump technology stopped with the advent of electric power steering. Well, electric power steering in hot rods still isn't great. Not as good as it is in the OEM cars, and you can't just like retrofit this rack and put it in there like everyone thinks. And so I've been really trying to work. We had a problem where the steering was stiff with big wide front tires at idle. And in an automatic LT4 car, because you would put it in gear, and at 600 RPMs, you're driving at 600 RPMs. So the pump's barely turning. And you put tires, and it's kind of chatters and chatters. But at 80 or 85 miles an hour, that thing was, I like the steering a little heavy. So you're not like chasing it down the road, like you putting some in it. And the feel was really great. And so everybody was like, oh, that's great. Well, I started doing some research based on some things that came up that I'm like, I'm going to figure something out. Well, I found a guy who could make a pump that would produce more volume at idle, but it wouldn't blow up at redline, because you could put a smaller pulley on it, but then it's going to overspin and start to blow it up. And so that was the problem before. Now I found out if you get an American-made pump, which nobody from GM and all them makes American-made pumps, so you have to have these custom pumps made. And so you do that, then you play with the orifice inside, and now we got the volume better at the bottom, but it was way too touchy at the top. So then you get one where it's the smaller orifice, and you put it in there to slow down the flow at the top, and you can get that feel on both ends. So I can have it where I want it to feel at 85, and I can have it where I want it to feel down here. And you're not just like, well, that's the power steering pump that came with my bracket system.
Yeah.
It was my chassis, and it's not leaking.
Yeah.
Like, that's the stuff I feel like, and especially nowadays, I'm getting more and more people who want to have a push button start, because that's what they're used to. And I mean, even crappy ass Chevy work trucks have push button start.
Yeah.
Like that's just what it is now. And so the bare minimum, Like maybe your hot rod doesn't have massaging seats and star roof and all this other crazy stuff, but there's becoming a point where some of these guys would like it to at least drive like a new crappy pickup truck.
Yeah. It's not too much to ask.
Not too much to ask, but a lot of guys just stop there.
Yeah.
And I think it's because the customer's done. He's like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I think it's because they don't have any comparison. So they just get in the car and they're like, I guess this is how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah.
You know? And so they're putting all this effort into, they just get it as far as they can and never try to go any further. And so that's where I've been trying to push that with the Chevelles, because I want to create the best Chevelles. Like, could you build a Chevelle that's more modified and has all kinds of goofy stuff on it? Sure, you could. Mm-hmm. Are you going to build one that drives better? I don't think it's possible. Like, maybe. But, I mean, we're spending $4,000 for a set of badass shocks. Mm-hmm. Like, we've done 5 cars, and they all weigh within about 50 pounds of each other. And we can now take what worked on this car and do it to the other 4, and it's all similar. And everybody gets in and they're like, oh, this is better.
Yeah.
So in my mind, this is better. And then this is better. Mm-hmm. And so that's where the unibody chassis that I've developed with the Roadster Shop came in. Is it's going to give us more interior room, because now there's no body on chassis. So the chassis is the floor. And so now there's more ground clearance. There's more interior room because the floor is even with the bottom of the rockers. Mm-hmm. You're welding the chassis to the body, so there's more torsional stiffness in the car, mm-hmm. which is going to mean less creaking, less just induced noise. I'd like to think that the car might be lighter. I know the chassis it's not going to be lighter than a stock chassis car, but it's going to be lighter than a aftermarket chassis car, because you no longer have the floor. The floor is the chassis, but the floor that's in the chassis is thicker than the floor was. So maybe it's a wash, but either way, the center of gravity is lower. Mm-hmm. As we're putting this car together, we're going to figure out if it's lower. We're going to figure out if it is lighter, but the center of that gravity is lower, which is a big deal. And then the seats are lower. So you take a big guy like me that's mm-hmm. 275 pounds, and that's lower. And so the gas tank is integrated into the chassis. So the fab work is much less. And so everything else that we developed as far as door panels and center consoles, all that stuff should carry over. The dash bars that we developed, because I want to mount the steering column super solid, because I just hate a car that the steering wheel's kind of flimsy in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we've just put a ton of effort into that kind of stuff in those cars.
Yeah, when you dropped that car, it made me so happy. You have no idea. We did the same thing to a 69 Scarlet kind of Roadster Shop chassis, and like channeled the body and set it over the frame and then made it unibody. Man, I got roasted on the internet. I was just the dumbest possible person. Like, there's this reason and that reason. That's why they do this, and it's for this. And you're like, I don't know, man. Why is every new car unibody? And they're like, it's because they're throwaways. You've destroyed a real car. I'm like, okay. I'm just trying to make it better over here. Like, because it was a convertible, and you put it on a lift, and the doors would open up, and you could put your hand in there. Yeah, it's like,
if the doors will open.
Yeah. Once it's on the lift, you can't get the doors open. Yeah.
I think the one that's funny is we get roasted in the comments on the guy when we move the gas filler to the trunk from behind the fold down license plate.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, have you ever? Does your car even run?
You got more than 120 horsepower.
Well, you just like, who's short enough that you can stand there all day?
Yeah, I like
thing around there and fill the
so awkward.
And I don't know how it is for you guys, but the nozzles here in California with all that emissions.
Oh, all the plastic stuff on.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
You gotta hold it just right and.
Yeah, we don't have that here, so we're still good in that respect.
Mm-hmm. But it's still because of the way it is. Like, you still got to get that thing.
Yeah, you got to get it right at the perfect angle, or it clicks every time. Yeah,
it clicks every time, and so you like
so annoying.
And then you put it up here on the top, and yeah, you undo the thing, you stand there, and you scroll on your phone, and it fills up, and you put it back away, and you're like,
Every Chevelle pulling away from a gas pump leaves $5 behind of where the thing is, pours out the back.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. There's that comment, then the guys who comment about us running 4 71, 72 rear bumpers. I just think it looks cool to have the 4 headlights and the 4 taillights. I know it's not correct.
It's the perfect setup.
Best version of it. Yeah.
Don't say that a lot. People are gonna.
Oh man, they can have it.
Yeah,
it looks great like that.
I think it looks great. I understand it's not a 70, and if a guy wants a 70, we'll put a 70 bumper on it
for sure.
But it's 2 square taillights and then 4 round headlights. It makes no sense.
Yeah, we're allowed to improve on what was. That's what we do.
But based on the internet, everything we do, we're ruining it. Like, oh, you ruined it. It was perfect as a stock car. It's like, clearly you've never driven one of these.
Oh, my God.
Because these things are horrible.
I think all those guys still have their cars on jack stands, so
Probably.
they really don't know the difference.
They got no comparison.
Yeah. But why Chevelles, though? Like, I'm actually curious. Like, why Chevelles?
So we built a black one with a black vinyl top that was kind of a patina car 11 years ago. It was on the cover of a whole bunch of magazines before they went out of business. And it was on the cover of Hot Rod, which is pretty cool. I don't know how many times I get to have a car on the cover of Hot Rod ever again, because that's really hard nowadays, especially now that it's quarterly and now that it's all political and, you have all that stuff that comes into it because, what is it, Discovery Channel owns it? Or I don't know, or whoever.
Someone owns it, yeah.
Whoever bought it this week. But that car, as it went on for years and years, I'm not a big sports guy, and so the owner of the car would be like, hey, and obviously it wasn't Kobe, but I don't know too many basketball players, so he'd be like, hey, Kobe called and was trying to buy this car from me, and I'm like, who?
Wow.
Bryant. Like I said, it wasn't Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
And so that happened a lot. And it just got me thinking that a lot of people like the Chevelles. And I knew how to get them low. I thought they had an appeal. I mean, this silver one that's behind me in the picture I built 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. That guy sold it to a Bitcoin guy in Florida. I would like to think that our Chevelles, you just look at them, whether you know that we built that car or not, you're like, I bet Rodger had something to do with that one. Because of the stance, just because of those types of things. And I'm 6'6", and so I don't really fit in Camaros. And so that just kind of started the Chevelle thing. And I had another customer that I have built. He now owns the Unicorn Chevelle, but he tried to buy the black Chevelle that we talked about multiple times. One time was when the differential blew up in Wyoming, and he had tried to buy it a few times before, and he told Greg there in Wyoming, I'll buy the Chevelle from you for the same price I offered you before, as is, where is. And Greg's like, nah, I won't.
Wow.
And we're about ready. We put it on a U-Haul trailer, and we were getting ready to get in the U-Haul truck and tow it to wherever we were, because we had like 2 days more left on the tour before we got to the truck that was going to haul everything back to where we were going. And it just kind of got me thinking of, and I wanted to make something that I could lower the bar of not needing unicorns as much to build. So it gave me something simpler that we had done before, I've done multiple times, and how to not just raise the bar and come up with something that you're like, okay, the bar's going to be here. This is what we're going to do. We're going to make it simple. I just kind of didn't really have the idea that it was going to get to the point where nowadays I think people don't want to wait for real cars.
No, they don't.
Everybody wants everything tomorrow.
Now, yeah.
And so I think it's been good to do that. I think it's not a great time to be talking about high ticket items like this, but I think they're coming. I think we're getting there. I do think our cars I don't think they're too expensive for what they are, but they're not an entry level price.
No, and I think you like really, you've hit the nail on like making the process of your legacy series something that people can get in and enjoy. Like you're talking about like the whole process of being very clear and the whole sort of like you choose this, you choose that, and this is you've made that really sort of a thing for people to enjoy, even if they're a first time, car buyer. You've made that really, really good for a lot of people, and it's a great product. I mean, you're using top tier products in this thing, and like your build quality is, I mean, you could see it's there. It's everything makes sense. It's just made it a thing. I think it's great. I think it's really great that you have like multiple body styles available for that. Because like not everybody wants a Chevelle. Everybody knows a Chevelle is a great car. But yeah, some people want like Buicks, Pontiacs, and things like that too. So you've done.
I'd love to do a GTO. I'd love to do. There's some. What is it? The GSX Buicks.
Yeah.
I'd love to find one of those. I'd love to. The problem is like you can't take a cheap Buick and like buy GSX repo hoods and stuff because they're just not out there.
Yeah.
You got to actually find one, and you got to find all that stuff, and so it kind of defeats the purpose. Like I don't want to get to the point where we have to make the hood,
Yeah.
But there's some really cool A-body ones to do. I kind of want to do a station wagon one just because my kids like going on the road.
That would be so cool. Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
Can you imagine a unibody 4-door 70 Chevelle?
I think there's something there, Rodger. You might have to do that for us to see. I mean, station wagons, the shooting brake it's a big deal nowadays. You see it all the time. Everybody talks about it all the time. They're great.
Yeah.
Well, we did a road tour. I built a 65 Chevelle wagon for the guy who owned the silver Chevelle. I built him a wagon with the LT4, and we took it on the road tour, and my kids still talk about how fun that was.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And so I just think the 70 would be a little bit longer. Do I think it's the coolest thing ever? No. But do I think it's the coolest thing ever because my kids want to ride in it and, do those dad things?
You said you were talked about that build, that one black Chevelle that you did that was on Hot Rod Magazine. Was that like the turning point for you for the shop when Tim built his Evo, the Mercedes 190, a few years ago? That was like a huge turning point for the shop.
That's how I heard of you guys.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
For me, I think the turning point, for me was the black truck. So if you look
up there,
So there's a crazy chassis under that. And it's a tube chassis, transaxle, blah, 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 blah. That car's in Canada somewhere.
Oh,
nowhere. Nowhere. And I was building that for myself. And so I had a friend of mine. I had 2 or 3 things happen. One is that my mom passed away. She had a life insurance policy that she didn't even know about.
Wow.
And so I got like $75,000, and I was trying to be responsible with it. And I thought for a long time I needed to put it in the stock market or buy real estate or do those types of things. And I had a buddy of mine who was going through some stuff, and he was an older mentor kind of guy. And one night at dinner, he goes like, so what would it take to take your business to the next level? And I'm like, really? It's just money. Like, I've got this money that I got from my mom that I'm holding on to because I don't want to blow it on car parts. And he's like, well, and I'm like, I don't need this kind of influence in my life. I'm trying to, this is not what Jesus would have for me. Bro, he's like, if you put it in the stock market, you're investing in other people's business and you could invest in your own. And I'm like, wow, so you're telling me to buy car parts?
That's an old argument right there.
Yeah, that's really good. And he's like, so what else? Like, what would it take? And I'm like, it's just money. Like, I get to the point. At that point in time, I had that truck that was under its first chassis. I had a chopped and channel Model A actually that I fit in, and I had a couple other cars, but they were all like at the end of the fab stage because I didn't have the money to pay someone else. And so he's like, well, what if I gave you 50 grand? I'm like, well, nobody gives anybody 50 grand. I'm like, what does that mean? Do I have to feed my daughter John? What do I have to do? He's like, no. Like, I would just give you $5,000 a month for 10 months, and
wow.
I'd like to see you do something. And I'm like,
wow.
Like, but what's the catch? He's like, there's no catch. He's like, I just want to help you. I've never built him a car. He's not really a car guy. And he kind of is, but it's, but not like the rest of us.
Yeah.
And so he did that. And
Wow.
so I built the truck. I towed the truck all over the country and got a ton of notoriety. I've had people, which seems really surreal to me to have people tell me in the business class that they had some picture that was in Truckin' Magazine of the chassis that we built that was hung on their wall. And that like blows my mind to be that guy. Cause I'm like, wow, that's, you know all the problems with that thing? Like, cause we are full of with our cars, right? And so it just kind of blew my mind to go through that. And, so I went to a local car show here. They have the NSRA show here that I don't really even go to anymore. It's just kind of the same old dudes who have gone there for 30 years. And it's just not my cup of tea. And so I met a guy there that saw my truck. Actually, I think it was his son-in-law that brought him over, and he's like, you got to see this truck. And he came over and looked at the truck, and he's like, blown away. And he's like, well, where's your shop? And I said, oh, we're over on Unicorn Drive, which is really funny. But our shop was on Unicorn. And he's like, you're right there? He's like, my shop's like 3 cul-de-sacs down. I'm like, yeah, we're the one with those, he's like, the old junk Buick in the back. I'm like, the old junk Buick in the back. He's like, I just thought you guys were like everyone else. Like, you guys were just hacks. And I'm like, oh, maybe we are. I didn't know. And so he came in and we developed a friendship and we built the copper 48 Chevy truck that was chopped, sectioned, lengthened. Like, we did everything. And he's a total process guy. And that truck went on to win Truck of the Year.
Wow.
And that's like, we had a lot of jobs up to that point, because I would say I've probably been in business for maybe 10 years when that truck was finished, maybe somewhere right around there. But that was like the first one where because I built the one before that was mine. And then I pimped that thing through every possible thing I could. From Truckin' Magazine did a build feature on how to build a cover truck that they wouldn't put on the cover because it was black.
Oh my gosh.
Trickfactory magazines are. They don't put black cars on the cover because they don't pop.
Oh my gosh.
And so then, like right at the end, then Street Trucks is like, oh, we'll do it, but we won't put it on the cover. And so I towed that thing everywhere. Went to tons of shows, went to all these different places, went all over the place, learned a lot about how awards really work and how it really doesn't prove much. It's cool, but it really doesn't prove much. And it's really just the consistency of being known. Like, I don't know if you guys know of the black truck. You might know of you probably would know more of the chassis, because I really think I almost ruined the truck by putting it together from a notoriety standpoint, because that chassis was a big deal. And so it's all red tube chassis, transaxle in the rear, stack injected LS motor.
Nice.
Everything was super sculpted. It was it's crazy. And so, but that's really what kind of started that. And then it was just a progress. Like, I talked with a bunch of guys, and this was a topic this morning in our 20 group, was that some guys think you have to give away all this free work because you just have to, there's a saying that goes around that says the definition of success is that you donate less. And I get that. And there's a lot of stuff that I've done to, as we call, kiss some frogs, because sometimes in business you got to kiss some frogs, and there's times where you got to do the right thing and you got to do this stuff. But there's also a point where at some point you have to start making a profit. My question is, why are you having to donate, or do you just feel like you have to? Did you make a mistake? Are you over budget? Did you select the wrong customer? Are you learning? Are you looking at the total bill with your own wallet and not the customer's? Or are you just trying to build your calling card vehicle? And I said, I'm sure I could come up with some other examples. But those are all things that come into it, is where you're like, why? if your guy didn't make a mistake and no one else has built anything like this, like, why is it that you feel the need to cut your own throat?
Wow.
I think we're guilty of that entire list. Maybe even in the same car.
Yeah, you totally are. And so, and I know I do the same thing. I look at it and you're like, it's just too expensive. Like, it just is. And so, but did you guys slack? No. Did you make a mistake? Did you drop it on the floor? Did you like whatever it is? No. But it just shouldn't cost this. Yeah. And I think as soon as you lose that, then you're just in it for the money. And I think that people sense that part. But I think if you're constantly fighting to make that value for people, that's what they want to see. And they want to see that you're working hard for every dollar. And I'd like to think that our customers see that. You know, we built some cars that are really expensive. So a lot of times I don't even want to know what they cost. And I don't want, we had a discussion a while back with a customer where he's like, I need to know for insurance. And I'm like, do you really? Because they're not going to insure it for that. And he's like, no, probably not. I'm like, is that going to change something for you? No. And a few weeks later, he did need it for insurance just because. And we were like $30 less than my guess.
Oh.
Which was amazing.
Oh, okay.
But my guess was pretty high. But it at the end of the day, you're paying for the journey. And you're paying to achieve those types of things and achieve something that sticks with people. Like, and that's what I kind of hope happens with cars more than awards. Like, I hope that there's something that sticks with people. Like, I feel like that Mercedes and the Mercedes, I don't know what it is because it looks like an E190, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it has the stance. I don't know. There's something about that people sent it to me because we're building a Mercedes currently also,
awesome.
And ours is the Boatmobile version, the one with 4 doors and you should have the legs on the front.
So sweet.
And so, but there's, so yours guys came up in there and I don't know enough about Mercedes to know how wide bodied that is. Is it wide bodied?
It's probably 2 inches over what a Evo 2 version of a 190 is. So it's probably 5 inches wider than a 190.
Yeah. And to me, I don't know a lot about it, but I can go, that thing's bad. Like it just sits different. It looks different. I couldn't even tell you what engine's in it. I couldn't tell you what color the interior is, but I can tell you if I see that car, I'm probably going to be like, that's those trick guys.
Yeah, right.
Like that's how, and I feel like that is more important anymore of just standing the test of time with stuff that you're like, I know somewhere that badass Mercedes came from your shop.
That's right.
And you guys are probably more proud of that than you are your names.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that was earned.
True, and not just dubbed. Your parents thought this would be a good idea before you were born. Yeah. And I hope there's some cars that we've built that do the same thing. I hope that there's stuff that people look back and they're like, that orange 55 or that truck with the chassis or those Chevelles or whatever it is. And I just think it's going back to the very beginning. I think it's just a matter of putting a product out there and knowing this guy finishes cars, and you may not have seen or heard of all of them, but you know that he's built some stuff that's caught your attention.
So it's something I wanted to bring up is you actually come up in a lot of conversations with other builders that we talk to and do all this kind of stuff. And it's very much to the point that you've made to hit a bunch of different times throughout the podcast. And then I try to tell them is you've gone into a whole bunch of detail as to why your stuff basically costs what it costs, but you're kind of the bar and the comparison because it's well, this guy's car costs this much, so mine must be worth this much. And you're like, no, just because they look similar does not mean they're the same. So it's then it's well, this one sold at Barrett for this much. It's again, you don't know what's inside that car. You don't know the effort. You don't know how it performs. Sure, it looks similar because yours is a 67 Nova, so is this one. And this one was this, but they're not the same car. And then I go further explain. I was like, but look at this guy. This guy has 50 cars on the street that all perform well, and he's created this reputation of cars that run, drive, work, which justifies the expense when people go there. You don't have that track record. So why do you think your car should cost $500,000 just because Rodgers does? So listening to the time, the effort, and the process is like, I don't know how we get more of that out there and get people to enjoy more of that part of it instead of just the price tag part of it all the time. And it's like, we get customers that are like, what do you think this will sell for? Should we take it to Barrett-Jackson? It's like, well, I thought you were building a car because you wanted a car to enjoy and love. And now it's transitioned into some kind of, this one sold for this much. So we should sell mine for this much. You're like, they're not the same car.
Well, you and I both know that most every car that we would notice that sold at Barrett-Jackson probably sold for less than it cost to build.
Oh, yeah.
Which we tell everybody. So,
but that's because you have a guy who comes in and thinks the car that he saw sell on Barrett-Jackson was a super lot of money, and he thinks his car to build is just going to cost a lot of money.
Which I explained to him. I was like, okay, if we had an opportunity to pull $250,000 profit out of every one of these particular cars, that's all I would be building right now. This place would look like an assembly line. And you think I would be the first person to do it? There'd be people way ahead of me.
So we would have collared shirts.
Yes, and we'd just be pumping cars out at, it's funny. But
but the other part I think is how much a lot of these builders hate on each other for, some word gets out that this car costs this much money. And all these builders want to hate on them like, oh, I could have done it cheaper. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to be happy to be like, wow, somebody in our industry got that much for a car.
Yeah, it's wild. And
like they just want to hate on it and be like, oh, you must have been ripping him off. Oh, he must have seen that guy coming. Like, he must have seen that the owner of that car must be an idiot and all these things. And you're like, man, like, why are you so, you think your stuff that you finished one car in your mom's garage that you took pictures of in the driveway and you're going to rag on all these other guys that they like. I mean, there's this one guy. I'll go back to this one because we talked about comment. This is so funny. And so, and I could send you, I could probably find the screen. It'd take me a little bit, but I could find the screenshot. So this guy said all this stuff. There was a Autotopia video that came out that the guy put in the title, this car cost $500,000. Whatever, something like that. And in the comments, all those guys said all that stuff. Well, there's this one, I couldn't figure out where, it's the guy with the silver Chevelle. The guy with the silver Chevelle said this, and he asked this one guy who made all these like terrible derogatory comments about me, about the owner, about all this. And he's like, whatever his name is, hey Brad, what kind of cat do you prefer? And I'm like, what? You just put what kind of cat do you prefer? Like he right below his thing. So I clicked on Brad's thing, and I kid you not, there's like 48 pictures of cats.
Oh my god!
When they did is like telling you how much this custard cost, like that they too expensive. And I'm like, I'm gonna keep going. No cars, no.
Oh my gosh!
All feline. Like. That's what we have to deal with today. It's some dude named Brad that has tons of cats. Like tons of, they're pretty cat. Yeah. But you're like, that's what it's come to, is that people just want to hate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of it. Anytime we post anything that even it's just like a fun little do it, like how we do it kind of thing, it's like you're doing it wrong. You're doing it to rip off a customer. You don't need to take all those extra steps. Blah, 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 blah. Like you're using the most expensive shit just because you can and the customer's paying for it. And it's like, well, no, in my experience, I'm going to be married to this car for the next 15 years. So I want to make sure that this thing is going to last. So we make sure we do our due diligence and use the best stuff we can. But as far as these guys are all concerned, it's like you're just doing this to rip people off. And you're like, oh, my God. So it's like, and you get a lot of it.
15-inch steel wheels.
Yeah.
And the bias-ply tires, because you don't need those big brakes, and you don't need 20-inch wheels. You're not a drug dealer. All that type of stuff.
A drug dealer.
Oh, it's a wild industry to be in. For something that nobody really needs, it's like, And then the other side of it is like it falls into a weird place. Like I mentioned earlier, we do the design stuff is like you wouldn't go into a house without a plan or a design or an idea of what you want. Like you can't even get a building permit till you know what you want. Whereas this industry is like, I think a lot of these problems and a lot of the stuff that makes dealing with custom shops a nightmare is, you know, the customers that like they got to share in it too. So it's like watching your stuff and seeing like putting process in place and like following all these steps is like you can see a transition that these things are getting better and it's becoming more like treating it more of a serious business with proper steps and sort of protocols in place. Even in the short term that we've been trying to really focus on that has made a massive difference because it was like a free for all before. It was like they're coming and going whenever they please. They're talking to their buddies. They're changing their minds. They want this. They want to get rid of that. And then they're like, why the fuck is this taking so long? It's like, well, you change your mind every 2 weeks. So, like, we can't get any momentum on this thing.
Yes.
So it's like it's...
But I would challenge you to go, not why are you letting them change your mind, but why are you not alleviating that part before you get there so that they've already made the right decision?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I say that in a...
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you did. And that's kind of like where we're at. You know, it's like if you get to that point before you even begin, then all the problems sort of just like they don't exist.
I have a guy and that I'm building a car for, and he'll know if he sees this thing that I'm talking about him. But we have different tastes. And I tell him all the time, like, the things you like, I'm not always sold with. Sometimes we get to that point and I'm like, wow, that looks better than I thought. Yeah. and so, but my goal is that we're building his car.
That's right.
Not mine. And so he's like, well, why does it take so long? I'm like, because I think what you wanted me to do looks terrible. And so I do it and I'm like, I need you to say that this terrible thing is what you want. And then you don't respond, or I don't hear back, or you think that you told me, or I forgot that you told me, or whatever it is. But it's not like there's other guys that we just jive. Like the last shoe I'm building a Mercedes for, him and I jive. And the car was supposed to be simple. And I mean, he sent me an email this morning saying it was supposed to be simple and this and this. And as soon as I found out what he does, and as soon as I find out his taste and things like that, it's gone crazy. The billet bumpers, and because those cars have so much ugly stuff on them. Those bumpers are terrible. The aftermarket bumpers are terrible. And you're like, well, I can spend 10 weeks straightening these bumpers, or we could just go straight to just making them, and you're done with it.
Wow.
And then we can make everything we want, because I can't make rubber and I can't do these things. But I don't think we want fully chrome bumpers on this car. We need something that looks like rubber so that you think it's that. And so, and we've had different discussions to where he's like, well, now that we're here, what do you think it's going to take to finish it? And I'm like, I can't tell you. Like, you've gone carbon fiber lower valence. You've gone we've made all the engine bay in that Mercedes. Like, we haven't really posted stuff in a while, but that car's flipping crazy. Like, and I'm like, with the stuff that you've wanted to do to this, I have no clue where you're going to end up. So anything I tell you is a guess of anything. And I'm not even sure how I'm going to make it. I'm not sure if this part of it's going to be printed and this part's going to be machined, and then we're going to make this part out of steel, and then I make this part out of carbon. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out everything we got going on. But I spend the time going through that with him. And to me, when I get an email that's like, man, my little car that came in for just a little engine swap and was maybe going to be a patina car has turned into this crazy car that I think I'm going to have muscle car guys that are like, that thing's badass.
Yeah.
The same as your Mercedes. Like, I don't know the background of other cars you're doing, but that Mercedes from a hillbilly guy from Bakersfield, California was like, dude, that thing's bad. I don't know. I didn't even know what an E190 was 2 years ago. And I probably saw a real one. And then I saw yours, and you're like, man, that thing's cool. Like, I can tell you there's pictures of that car saved on my hard drive.
Wow.
Sweet.
But it's just because of the look. You know, the stance is cool, all that. But that's the thing where I hope those cars stand out. You know, of all the guys in my shop, I think most of them are the most excited to see this 4-door Mercedes done.
Same.
It's trippy.
Yeah.
You know, there's young guys. There's, you know, I watched the Beverly Hills Cop movie that came out on Netflix a while back.
Yeah.
Or I brushed my kids up on the ones before, and you saw Foley and the other two white dudes or whatever driving around in Foghorn. And I'm just looking at that going, that's what we started with? Like $1,200 on the internet. But this is that guy's 69 Camaro.
Again, those guys to commit to that is like, I don't know who I just spoke to. Somebody reached out to me about some advice and is like, get like my car, I paid $500 for it. So like to get the amount of money, still don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to end up divorced. Into a $500 car is like a different level of commitment because like the Chevelle, there's kind of a bar there. Like, you know, you're going to get close. Whereas
But it's easy.
it is easy.
On the other hand, if it's supply and demand, that's the baddest, only baddest. I'd take that one far before I would take another one.
Yeah. But it's harder to get customers to commit to doing those types of cars that are interesting, that'd be fun. Like, hey, I can take this platform and make it crazy. Whereas if you do a Chevelle, you know there's a kind of a bar already out there that if you get a certain amount of investment into it, you're going to recover part of it.
I would ask you then, where have you taken the car? And I know you're going to be like, oh, we live in Canada, I don't know.
I don't have to justify what I did. It's just I wish we got to do more of that kind of stuff and take those kind of cars and make them that crazy. Because I think there's a bunch of amazing platforms out there, but it's hard to get people to commit to that. Like now that I've did, and even still, ratio and proportion, people want to do it because they think it's a $500 car. So they think it cost me $15,000. And it's like, no, it costs.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true.
Oh, the amount of messages we get is crazy.
But I would ask you where you're advertising that.
No, I'm not. That's just what people's assumption is. I've had some wild offers on it, so I know there is value there if you were to build another one. But
there's got to be some Middle Eastern guys that are like,
yeah, 100%.
yeah.
Like I've had
the jokes we had is I'm like, I've seen this car more in the Middle East with guys in the Taliban, and I have guys do.
That's true.
Launchers out the roof.
It's true. Yeah. We're big there. Yeah, and they love it.
That's an assault vehicle over there.
That's what that's what the head ISIS guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I think they drive mine, the 4-door one, because they can all
Right. Yeah. So true.
I'll have that red and black houndstooth Truman thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right.
It's cool with the flags and everything on the front fenders and everything. That is so cool.
You need the fender flags on that thing.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm gonna make them magnetic, just
Oh my, just so, yeah.
That's cool.
so. But I think like I'd be like, well, where are you taking that Mercedes? Like, are you thinking that you can just handle all that on Instagram? Are you thinking you can handle?
No, we debuted it at SEMA, and then we've taken it to a few places, but like we just kind of want to get on to the next thing. So it's.
But that's how you have to, and I understand that. And so I'm the same way when you get done, but you have to ride that stuff out to go. Like when you were here for SEMA, you probably should have hit Orange County Cars and Coffee.
Yeah.
That big one that's down there.
That's a very good point.
People down there for that. Like I would probably hit up like Sean from Autotopia to get him to do a review on that thing because it just hits a different kind of clientele. And so you learn all these things from over the years of, instead of making 20 trips to LA to do that, you figure out the places that you could go for that. Like a good guy's show with that car would be a waste.
Yeah.
You know, like SEMA's a great place for it, but I don't know where you were at SEMA.
Tread Pass.
Another car.
Yeah.
Where were we at SEMA?
We were in Tread Pass.
Oh, Tread Pass.
Yes.
It was in Tread Pass. Yeah.
Tread Pass. Yes.
So that's pretty much where we've had our last 3 cars put through
And that's
Tread Pass.
probably a killer spot for that.
Yeah. Yeah. For that car, that's definitely the spot for it.
But that's where you got to like arrange with Larry Chin. Arrange, do those types of things. And as you look that way, you're killing so many birds with one
Stone, yeah.
And you're showing that to people that don't look at that car as a $500 car.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
You get in front of people who, because now you just got to, and I'm learning more and more that a lot of my new lead customers are coming from Google and YouTube, which most marketing things will tell you that search engine optimization is dead.
Yep.
And that's, but if you're not on social media, which I have a lot of guys who are not on social media. And So I'm on social media for some customers, but I'm on there more for everything else of employees. I think it helps with just getting booth placement if you want at SEMA. I think there's stuff like that. I think it keeps you relevant. I think that you're going to have the younger audiences, but I have a lot of guys who are 60 years old or more, 60 to 70, that are not even on social media.
Yeah.
And so I'm never going to hit them.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out how to do that stuff. And that's the bummer with Instagram, is it's not searchable, really.
No, not really.
Yeah, you can do that stuff, but it's not. I mean, there's just so many different angles of trying to promote the cars if that's the direction you want to go. You can't let that car sit in the back of the shop and collect dust and expect people to just find it in the back of their garage in Canada.
Yeah, it's true.
We're designing one with, or we have designed one with Ash Thorpe. And so he's a really cool designer. And so we're doing that for SEMA this year. And so we're planning to extract as much value.
Yeah, that's kind of like a big business mistake that we've made in the past, is we get sort of wrapped up in these things and we build them and then we drop them, but we don't have any infrastructure in place to follow up with the hype that some of these things that we've done. So like this one, we're trying to get more things in place before we debut the car, because now we've been through the process. We know what to expect. We have a decent social media following. We have all these things in place. But like previously, because like even back in the chopper days, we used to build choppers and we'd go win all this crazy stuff. And then we didn't have T-shirts. We didn't have nothing in place. And then you have outside people trying to, like, oh, I'll put this money in and do this. And you're like, then you're scared because you don't want to, take outside investment, blah, blah, blah. And it's the same with the Evo. Like I did it because I had it in my head for 15 years. And luckily enough, I got into a place that I was able to execute on it. And then we're like, okay, we sat in on some builder panels with, Bobby Allison, all these kind of guys. And they're like, hey, you need to build yourself a car that you have control over, that you can show, you can take the shows and all this kind of stuff. Because we've always had customers like, yeah, you can take it to any show you want until you want to take it to a show. And then you never get access to the thing again. So we went all in on that car and then debuted it, but we just weren't ready for the amount of hype and attention that it brought, and it's still bringing. So, and then we've struggled with trying to get stuff made here in Canada, and people want kits. We had to restructure our entire business now based on being able to produce parts and be able to, because not everybody can afford the whole car. So we're like, hey, maybe we can sell some parts that we used on the car for these kids that want to build these things. But yeah, like I say, in the last probably 3 or 4 years, it's just kind of restructuring everything to be ready for that when we do bring it, because now we know we're capable of it. We just got to get everything in place before we drop these things. So it's kind of a mistake that we've made and we're trying to correct. So I 100%.
I'm doing the same thing with my Chevelles. I'm selling chassis, I'm selling inner fenders, selling things like that, and I'm using that as just kind of side money to do it. But there's some things I don't want to sell because I don't want to cheapen my cars to where there's a bunch of crappy version legacy Chevelles out there. They're like, well, this is just the same but cheaper.
Yeah.
We did vinyl interior.
Nice.
Just stuff like that. So, yeah,
it is.
And that's cool too that you have your own cars that you drive, because we were talking with Ring Brothers a few months ago, and they don't have, or they don't build cars for themselves, or don't have cars that so it's pretty cool that you also get to enjoy it.
I don't either, because I have some cars. I was able to strike a deal with a customer to buy the orange 55 that we built in 2015 back, and so he made me a smoking deal on it because he knew that car was just kind of a big deal to me. I have a Porsche. I was just trying to compare and do those things, and I wanted something different. 9,000 RPMs and things like that makes it feel a little different.
Yep.
And so I've been doing that. I've had a boat for a few years. I've got dirt bikes and do those types of things, and I ride mountain bikes, and I do a lot of other stuff because there is a point where cars become, I love ice cream, but I don't think I could eat ice cream for every meal.
That's right. It's funny because we're big Porsche guys too, and it's like we don't drive hot rods or muscle cars. So it's like a little bit of a disconnect, but
Well, I've always scolded the cars. Like I would get this car to this point, and then somebody, that's how the Orange 55 was. Is I was building that, and then I wound up building it for him. And there's, I have some cars that I've been trying to invest in. I have 2 Chevelles now that are unsold. One's in the body shop, and so I'm processing through getting that one done. And then when I sell that car, I'll move on to the next in investing into the next cars. And so but I can borrow badder, sweeter cars than I could afford for my customers.
That's kind of where we're at. Like, I get to drive so much cool stuff that I don't really feel like I need to own it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some of it then doesn't feel like a hobby because it feels like work.
Yeah.
And that's one reason that I bought the Porsche. And I had a bunch of things, but one of them was to feel what's better.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to know what was better and have a bar and know how those cars drive. And there's things that I've used from the Porsche to make the Chevelles better. I mean, when developing a dual track window kit to go in these cars, because the stock stuff is just janky and flimsy. And we do a good job of making the doors quiet when you shut the door, but it's not as quiet as a new car.
No.
Yeah.
And it's not quite, when the car doesn't have an upper window frame, it's going to bounce a little bit more and do some of those things. And so Porsche does that. Mercedes Mustang does that. And so we took Mustang window tracks from a late model Mustang, because who knows how much the Porsche ones would be. And we're retrofitting those into the Chevelles.
That's amazing.
And so just doing little things like that to make all that stuff work better, because you're like, man, it works really good here. How can I make this here? And maybe I can use these latches and this trunk latch and things from that to make some things better and not just be like, oh, it's just an old car. This ain't always going to be an old car.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't need to be like that. There's so much value in being inspired and even using some of the OEM components. Like, there's crazy value in that. So that's smart.
Most of the aftermarket stuff sucks.
Yeah,
Most of it
a
does.
lot of it does, right? There's a compromise in it somewhere. How can you possibly compare to the amount of R&D an OEM would
Millions of dollars.
will put into something like that? So like a window track as the example is like some of those little things you just don't see that just work so good. Why wouldn't you use it? Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. Which of your builds has been the wildest one that you would say? Is it still like the improvement you've been making to the Chevelles, or has there been one that you're like, this is it?
I would say the Mustang or the 35 Chevy.
Okay.
They're both used for different purposes. I don't know if that, maybe not like that, but the Mustang was meant to be, it really wasn't meant to be what it turned out to be, but the customer just enjoys the process, enjoys those things, enjoys nice things. I kind of wondered, I'm like, how did this car end up here? Like, I have to do a lot of self-evaluation because I would presume you guys are familiar with that car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the most famous yellow-wheeled Mustang on the internet.
Yeah.
But the wheels really aren't yellow. I was thinking my buddy was giving me a hard time the other day that the 2 cars that look like they have yellow wheels on the internet both won Street Machine of the Year and West Coast the Elegance of the Year. That was yellow wheels.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sound actually yellow. So, but the Mustang was, there's a lot of stuff that I spent a lot of time with the customer, him and I designing the interior, whether we designed it, whether we had some drawings done, whether it was with George, my CAD guy, whether it was whatever it was. And so all the engine bay stuff, all the details, just all the parts, like there's a ton of crap on that thing. And it's executed to a very high level. I felt like that really was the start of us really making things I had never considered before. Mm-hmm. And while that car was being built, we were building things for the 35. So like the running boards that are on the 35 Chevy that are machined are just a wild idea. Because I didn't want the rubber to have a bead around the edge to cover the rubber.
Yeah.
I wanted the fins in the rubber to come to an end like as if the running board was, I don't know if casted or molded or whatever is the right way in rubber. I wanted it to look that way. And I racked my brain for months on how to do that. And I remember climbing this hill on the edge of town on my mountain bike, rounded this corner, and I just remember the exact spot where I'm like, and I'm like, but I look back at that stuff, and that's stuff that I would have never even today, like you have to get to a certain point where you've done this, and this, and this, where you even can think ridiculous like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
a lot of people wouldn't be like, oh, we'll just machine that. Like this giant thing. And then when you get it all done, like you paint it and everyone just thinks it's rubber.
Yeah.
It's the most perfect rubber. So cool. I have to tell everyone because I'm so proud of it that you're like, look at the rest. Just look at this. One thing you look past that you just thought was rubber is not rubber. And so I just think that stuff has been really cool. I think trying to develop some of my younger guys to take over things at some point have been good. That's part of where the business class stuff came in, and now our 20 group stuff that has come in. So just going through those things and now becoming more mechanically, not that we weren't, because I think we've always been pretty mechanically savvy, but just trying to push learning about power steering pumps. And it really feels good on a Friday, because I'm usually done at noon on a Friday because we work a 4-10 schedule. And then I usually work a half a day on Fridays, and it feels pretty good to go home on a Friday and you're like, man, I learned these 6 things this week, and still learning and pushing. And I mean, I'm still here at 4:20 in the morning, and I've been trying to go home at 3 o'clock now. I used to just work 4 to 4, and now I just trying to go home. I got kids that get out of school, and I'm 49, and my kids are 8 and 11, and I want to be a good dad, and I want to do some other things. Like cars are cool, and I really think that'll always be my thing, but I'd like to get in a little better shape. I realize that sitting at my desk and there's other things I'd like to be good at too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I went fly fishing last year, and that was pretty fun.
Oh no! I heard that's an addictive thing, fly fishing.
And it's fun. It's fun. So the thing for me is I need stuff that I don't have to go a long ways to go do.
Yeah.
And there's like limited seasons for fly fishing around here. We have the Kern River, which is close, but you got to go drive for an hour to get to a place where you can really do it. And I'm not the type of guy who can just sit on the dock and just
chill and just
like, that's not my deal. Like, but I like the part where you cast and you got to make it move and you got some strategy to it. My wife was making fun of me because I was thinking about getting a jet ski because it just looks fun to go. And the thing is, I don't have to have my friends go with me. I don't have to complain they didn't take their shoes off. I don't have to complain all those things, but it just gives you something else to. I just like to master things.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy mountain biking because it's, but I'm not the fastest guy. But I don't want to ride with the slow guy. I'd rather be the slow guy with the fast dudes than I would be the fast guy with the slow dude.
Yeah. I know. It's less painful.
Yeah, that too.
Causes you to progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just like the challenge of it. Even if I'm always going to be the bottom guy at the mountain, that's fine. People I ride with are super fast. But I just like the challenge of trying to learn more of that stuff and obviously not die. But it's the same with cars. Like, we're always getting better at designing more parts. And that's the stuff I really enjoy anymore, is just trying to do that and to help guys with their business. And, the 20 group thing has been really good for us because it's a once a month Zoom meeting and we cover a topic, and go through it. And then there's like a group text thing that we kind of just share with. And there's a video that popped up on Instagram that was kind of controversial-ish, I guess. And so I posted it in the thing and just asked everybody their opinion. And it's about donating time. Some of the stuff that we talked about here. And just challenging those guys, because I would really like our industry to be more well-respected. And I just mean in that like that people would understand the effort that goes into what shops that do it well.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a point in time coming where AI could replace doctors. The guy could walk into a machine and put his hands up and then prick their blood and take their breath, and the machine will tell them what's wrong.
Yeah.
Right. But somebody's always going to have to engineer that machine at some point.
100%.
And so I just think that it would be great to see and especially guys in our industry, be as respected as doctors and I'm not dogging doctors. I'm not dogging it but I just don't think that, I've had a lot of people in 24 years that have quit because their wives are like, I just want you to go get a real job.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty common
I'm really
thing.
trying to change that, at least with my guys, with all the benefits we offer, with the pay we do. I don't think you could go get a corporate job now that does better.
That's amazing.
Maybe it does better, but it probably sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really what my focus is now, is just to improve my business and improve those things to still build kick-ass cars, to still do stuff for the same customers, because they enjoy it, and they still think that we're honest, and they still think we're trying hard, and they probably say we're expensive, and but I think anything good is expensive.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. You covered some of it, but what is the culture like? Because, for example, here, we all have not just lunch together, but sometimes coming on the weekends, and he likes to cook, and we all have our projects too that they help me with, because I never learned how to do this. I just, from YouTube to working with them, and now, so they help me a lot. And so what is the culture like there?
I would say it's good. I'm trying to encourage some of my lead guys to do some of those things. And I think that's really is the stuff they see on a daily basis. I'm not even sure I can afford.
That's kind of the culture around here. Is the stuff that we're doing, we're playing with, can almost be a little bit demoralizing, because it's we can't afford it. I can't afford half the stuff that we do.
Yeah.
So it's then you just don't even want to do anything. So that's kind of it's...
Well, because it's hard to drive this half-ass piece of junk around and be proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's that's all I had. I've had this 41 Cadillac that I bought that was all stock, and I thought I'd just drive it around with my kids when they were little. And 4 times out of 5, it'd come back on a tow truck.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so the kids actually don't remember riding in it. They just remember it breaking down.
That's part of the adventure, though. That's hot run.
We've talked about that before, because we do some overland camping and things like that. And I'm like, you wouldn't remember it if it didn't go bad. all the good trips you don't remember.
Yeah.
Everything goes perfect and the weather's great. You only remember when we went to Universal Studios and it rained the whole day. And that's, for me, I'm trying to help these guys get their car on the road.
Yeah.
And not be so demoralized over my stuff to where you're like, well, if you're not 3D printing the entire interior and making billet bumpers and making a unibody car, it's junk. Because it's really easy to become snobby.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be like that, right?
Yeah, it's still, there's times where, my daughter that's 11, I've been trying to think of ways that I could build a car at home with her and just do it within the confines of, we can only use the tools at home.
Yeah.
We're not, I helped her with she had to build some mechanical machine thing for school. And you had to keep it simple with, they said household items. And I'm like, I have a plasma cutter.
That's kind of
I have a plasma, a 3D printer, CAD software.
Did it all. she designed, we just made this lever thing. I just was trying to explain to her leverage. So if you take a long bar and have a pivot point here, you can pick up more weight here. And if you move it here, it's just and the teacher gave her a C+ because it was not common stuff. And I'm like, what? So we made it out of cotton balls and popsicle sticks. We would have, but she made everything.
That's amazing.
Right? But I don't know how to make it out of cotton balls and popsicle sticks. Wow.
Yeah, there's an argument. There's an argument somewhere in there.
I had a similar project with my daughter, except for it kind of got a little bit over the top. We ended up making a catapult that they took away from her because it turned into a weapon.
It's still hard for me to look at Miss Picking and have respect for her, knowing they're
Do your kids like cars?
They're 2 girls. They're
still young too.
11. They like girl stuff.
Yeah.
They see what I'm doing. I think they're starting to understand. The dad builds some pretty crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. I think they're starting to get that. I also try to keep things pretty separated, so when I go home, it's a break.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
We went to the Triple Crown last year. No, whatever, 2 years ago or something with the Mustang, and it didn't even make the top 30 after winning Street Machine of the Year.
Oh my God.
My daughter won the coloring contest, and she tells me all the time, did you win anything in Nashville?
Oh my God. That's amazing.
So when we went to Del Mar this year, I gave her a hard time. I'm like, did you, if we got, the street rock, whatever, the West Coast, the Elegance thing. And I'm like, did you get anything? Hey, they didn't have a coloring contest or I would have.
Wow. That's it. Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome.
I love that. I love that.
Are there any trends that you're seeing that you're like, oh shoot, I wish this would just end or this would just come and go with regards to building or I don't know, or even design that you're like, oh, this is not good in your opinion? This is kind of like a hot take, but
I'm trying to figure out how to be politically correct here.
You don't have to be. Oh, you don't have to be. Nobody's going to cancel you over here.
Yeah.
I just think there's some ridiculous stuff that people are building that won't work. I'm kind of over statues. There was a car at SEMA a year or 2 ago that was ridiculous with 4 million horsepower and carbon fiber covered 3D printed stuff. And
I know about
I know the car you're talking about.
And I just want to be the guy. You guys want to race?
Yeah. Somebody needs to be that guy.
You want to race? You want to race?
Let's see how this.
I get it, and maybe what I'm saying. I'm trying to be really nice, but there's just a lot of stuff like that you're like, okay, so you have a 3D printer.
You didn't need it all in one place.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you so you have no roll cage in that car with 2,800 horsepower and turbo is as big as a pumpkin, and you're you really call me when that's on the 405 freeway. Call me. There's probably those things of just things that you're like, I think cars should do car things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we make stuff if you don't drive your Mercedes or whatever it is, don't tell me that because that car's badass.
That thing is so terrifying.
It's a ripper.
No, that's what I want to know. Don't make these statues.
Yeah.
That's and then just.
Yep, you can do it. Keep going.
Sell it.
And then for it to get best engineering and things like that at SEMA, it just really shows you whoever's picking the awards is an idiot. Car doesn't even run.
Yeah, we have this conversation in the shop all the time. Yeah, you see stuff that's like that. My car makes 1,036 to the wheels, and it's absolutely terrifying. It's so fun. It's just the stupidest thing.
The car I'm talking about doesn't even make it to the flywheel, I don't think.
Yeah. I think I saw 4 people pushing it.
Yeah, it's about as much power I've seen.
I don't even think it runs.
So when you look at some of that stuff, you're like, that is just so stupid. There's no version of that is going to be fun to drive or even drivable, or you're going to even get it to work properly. Or like, where are you going to take it?
Just don't, like, if that's what you want to do. If you want to make statues, then make statues.
Yeah.
But don't, like, it doesn't make 2,800 horsepower until
Never has.
it's not.
That's right.
Like, and don't reward it at a car show if it can't do car thing.
That's right.
Exactly.
Like, if you want, I'm all for whatever kind of cars. I mean, if you want to build 4-door Pope cars, you can build 4-door Pope cars. I'm good with 4-door Mercedes. I'm good with 35 Chevys. I'm good with Mustangs. I'm good with, I think all that stuff. There's some badass stuff.
Yep.
I'd love to build some killer Porsche stuff. I'd love to build, I think that's the cool part of this industry is all those things. I can get into lowriders. I can get into trophy trucks. You know, I can get into all that type of stuff, but it just has to run. Like, it needs to be a car and not a shopping cart.
Yeah, that's
Like,
good.
it just needs to do car stuff. And, like, I mean, if you guys know the one I'm talking about, how long has it been since that thing was there? And I haven't seen it run.
No. Maybe one day. I mean, I don't know, but
I don't know. I think it's just going to
Or there.
fade away every miss.
But, like, it's not best engineered.
No.
Engineered for what?
yeah, it doesn't run, so it's
It
not
should be
carring.
Like, I think they should make a trophy that's like the SEMA's best sculpture.
Yeah,
agreed.
Best, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where you guys can start that. Between you guys are like, we're going to have our own award show.
Oh my god.
We actually just started our own car show, but it has no awards.
That's awesome.
That's so
I think that's the way. I think that's the best car shows, really.
we just want to bring out like
Opinion.
the best engineered stuff, the most creative, most passionate. Like, I can appreciate effort. Like, I understand you might not have it all the way to the end, but if I can recognize the amount of effort in, like, that's admirable in itself. Because all these awards shows, we just get bored of them. It's like,
Even if you painted it blue and I don't like blue, I can still get behind the fact that that's an amazing blue paint job.
exactly.
I don't have to judge it and be like, oh, well, that's a Volkswagen. Volkswagens aren't real cars. You know, they're going to have radiators.
Yeah.
Like, that stuff just wears me out. Like, and just makes that's probably, if I had to pick the trend, and I don't know if it's a trend, I hope it's not a trend, but I just want stuff that drives, that it doesn't look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're going so far, you know, into making and creating something that is just like pushing the envelope that it's not even a real thing anymore. It's like it's not a car anymore if it doesn't actually perform its duty as a car.
Well, I remember being a little kid and you'd go to the supermarket thing where they would have a NASCAR there. And you get old enough where you find out it doesn't even have an engine in it. It's not even like a real NASCAR anymore. And it's like finding out Santa Claus at the mall isn't real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's what's the point? Like,
Yeah, so true.
but then it gets all this praise and all this stuff, and you're like
Why?
For putting the
at
most.
least idle it forward.
Yeah.
You don't even have to make sure. I don't care about scrub radius and all this other stuff that obviously you don't know about. But you know,
Honestly, we recognize a lot of these things all the time. So when you're sitting at the lunch table and these guys once in a while, they're like, "Oh my god, this thing's so sick!" And you're like, you can't even turn the steering wheel in that thing.
Yeah. No, I think that's honestly how it went, even for this car too, because I was like, yo, this thing is sick. And then it's like,
I was like,
how is that
thing
going to
such
work?
a
How is
pile of-
that
that's
going to work?
Not going to go down the road.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, and so-
it was built for this and this only. And it's like, then other people were talking about it, and I was just like, man, this is so wrong because there's so many great cars in here. And the
well,
fact
it just makes you question your friends.
Yeah.
yeah, it's true though.
No, but it's like I don't know as much as they do, obviously, in car building, and they've had so much more experience because I've been passionate about cars my entire life, but I just started diving into building cars myself. And so a lot of my appreciation just comes from the first thing is seeing it. And it's like, it looks as insane as it does. And so then their questions come of how is you're building this or you're designing this, but how is it actually going to function? And so that is a part that I'm still like learning, or with design too. It's like making it function first, and then design can come as wild as possible. So
Well, there's a little bit of both. I think the Porsche thing, like to go back to that, has ruined it, because once I got one, then everything else I drove is like, this is shit. So then you start to try to fill in, like adapt some of that. Like, hey, why is this so good? And maybe we can put it into some of these. So it's like now the evolution, of course, is like, we don't mess around with this other stuff. Now it's roaster shop chassis, because that's the best thing available for this without getting completely crazy. And then at least the bar is higher, and this will be an enjoyable, drivable car. And you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna come back for more. Like, we've done it, and it's like LS's, and like, hey, you want like 550, 600 horsepower, not 1,000, because it's ridiculous. You're gonna take this car, you're gonna enjoy it. And the only thing it comes back for is oil changes. Whereas you start doing some of this other shit that it's like, sure, you can put 1,500 horsepower in it, but is the rest of the car built for it? Or is this thing going to be now a death trap? It's like all these different things. So we have to back some stuff up. And it's like, these guys are throwing these wild numbers around, like 2,600 horsepower. You're like, dude, I know what it took to make 1,000. And I can see that is not ever going to get anywhere close to that.
Well, and maybe it does. Maybe
this
that
long.
nomination could, at the 10th theory,
but we don't know.
like, but that's not how that thing's gonna work in there.
No.
Like, but I mean, I had another guy that I had messaged, and he's like, I just kind of wish we would have made the cars that we built more drivable. And I'm like, well, you didn't want to make them drivable. Like, that's not what you wanted to build. You picked the cheapest chassis you could, because you thought all the chassis is the same. So this guy's cheap. So I'm just gonna put that under there. And then you put 1,000 horsepower in the car with a gimmicky, lame transmission, like those the 6-speed things that somebody was converting 4L80s into 6-speed somehow, and they're terrible. Like they hunt, they do, like, they're just terrible. And I'm like, you started the whole thing off unknowingly before he had all that stuff before we did it. And really, I probably helped with that. You're like, let's make it ridiculous. Let's make it ridiculous. And so, but then you're starting with crap stuff where the suspension geometry sucks and the coilovers are this long and all these little things where you're like, it's never going to be fun to drive because you never started with that. You can't really, anything with a 572 is never going to be fun to drive. It's going to be a smoke show thing if you live in Australia. Yeah, you'll win the burnout contest there, but you're not going to drive it down they just sound, every car I've ever put one in, they sound like a monster truck. Like, but it's just funny how people, put that stuff together of the ridiculous part to think that if I just have more stuff, it'll make it this. And you're like, that's not what really anybody wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't realize it till after they have it.
Oh, until they have, yeah.
We have he had to have the 1,000 horsepower Wagner. Now he has it. He's terrified of his car. It's like, can we tune it back? You're like, not really.
Yes.
So
I'm doing one right now that has a 1,200 horse Don Hardy motor in it. And I didn't believe it until I saw the thing, but I'm building it for a guy named Rodger Holder that races everything you can imagine. And if you follow Extreme Drag Radio stuff, he's heavily involved in that stuff. And he's like, yeah, it's going to be a monster, but that's what he wants.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's, we started it up and we're like, seriously, this thing's 1,200 horsepower? It doesn't sound like it. Like, I almost, I go back to the dyno sheet. You're like, I hope this is for the Eaton. But it's got all the stuff, some huge Whipple and all this stuff on it. But I was expecting it to just be like Chop City on the thing.
Underwhelming sounds, yeah.
But it just apparently it flows a ton of air. And that's how it's going to make it sounds like, you hear some of those turbo cars that run, 250 miles an hour in the quarter, and you're like, they're just,
yeah,
that, super smooth. And apparently it's going to be the same way. But once again, it just needs to be driven.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
like,
good.
It doesn't have to be driven a lot. Maybe you don't drive it all the time. Maybe you've got some really full race cam 327 4-speed car that is the deal from back then, and that's what you have. But it just, at the end of the day, it needs to do some car things.
Yeah.
And I agree.
And then one more question. What is one thing that you've learned the hard way? There's probably a lot of things, but what's one thing, or one thing that you're like, oh shoot, yeah, I'm never gonna do that again? But what's one thing that you've learned the hard way?
I think the thing that we start our business classes with is you really got to choose whether you're going to chase your ego or you're going to chase your profit. And because it's really hard to do both. Mm-hmm. And I think the more you just want to be famous or you just want to be someone, the harder it's going to be to actually run a legitimate business. You know, just seen a lot of things where guys, I mean, most guys give away their T-shirts. I don't sell a lot of T-shirts.
I don't think we sell any T-shirts.
Yeah, like, I think it's funny. I get friends of mine who message me and be like, "Hey, I wore that shirt out," and you're like, "Can I get another one?" And you're like, "Well, you can buy them on my website. I gave you the last one. Did you send anybody here?" "Oh, you just told all your broke friends to come here." Okay, then. No. And so, but I think it's, you know, you really go into that. I remember seeing another shop that some of the guys in the shop got into road biking. And so they bought what was the spandex kits. Sick. And they made up where they said their craft name on it. And you're like, what are you really trying to accomplish with that? You think some guy's going to pull you over on the bike path and be like, "Hey, you're hot rod. So, you know those guys? You look me up? Like, is that really how you want to be known for?" Like, and so you just go in, like, because you can take your car to a show every single weekend and be the coolest guy everywhere and not bring in any work. Mm-hmm. And you could be the coolest guy on the planet. And I think it just really comes into of what do you want to do? Like, and do you think that that's going to attract the customers?
Yeah.
There's guys you can see on YouTube that you can just see in the videos their arrogance. And you can see, I mean, the guy that I saw that was doing the Chevelles the other day, like that guy's all about how he's got these little teeny tiny 3D printers and makes it sound like he's NASA. and you're like, I have a huge big rep 1 printer, and I don't know if I would ever talk like that guy does. And really, I think I've learned that most guys that are the most arrogant in this business aren't really doing the best work. You know, if you go talk to Troy Trepanier, you go talk to Troy Gudgel, you go talk to those dudes, they're just cool.
Yeah.
They will tell you how they did it. They're not intimidated to tell you how they did it. It's not some hidden secret. They probably know that you can't do it.
That's the reality of a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, they may not have time to tell you everything that you want to learn, but they're willing to give you a few minutes to learn those things. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably what I've learned the most. And, you know, you guys have all been in the men's room, but like, I always think it's interesting when you go to a car show and you go into the bathroom, like there's the unwritten rule that you don't talk when you're in the urinal. But you can tell the guys who they just won't even say hi. And you're like, you both know who each other are. You both have said things, or you'll be like, or you're looking at them kind of waiting for that eye connection.
Yep.
Where you guys then both say, "Hey," you know, you guys know what I'm saying. Like, yeah, there's the initial eye contact, and then, but they're just like they can't see you, like they only see dead people or something from the movie, like whatever it is, and they don't even want to talk to you. Wow. And so it's just so interesting how some guys, and they've never built anything that's like super duper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of like the vibe here that we've noticed, because like in the States, we've always had great experiences because everybody gets talking, and you know, you go to a roaster shop party, this and that, and everybody's doing their thing, and there's like a little bit of a community, and then like we listen to Oil and Whiskey, and you sort of get an idea of the community that you guys all have sort of together, but we don't really have that here. And it's always been like you say, it's like we're competitors. It's like everybody, like, your stuff sucks. It's like, doesn't necessarily have to suck. Like, we do the same thing. Like, we can, so like
My customers don't think so.
yeah, so like leaning into like reaching out to people that before I would have been like way too intimidated. So like now we've started to gain this sort of little network, and I'll just send a question. It's like, yeah, man, do this. Like, when we did this happened. So like sort of expanding on that has been great, but there has always been that sort of gatekeeping and like, we're this guy, we're the best, we can't talk to you. And you're like, okay, that sucks. So like kind of this car show that we're doing, like, that was like, we reached out to other shops, like, hey, what do you got going on? Bring something cool. Blah, 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 that kind of thing. Like, I can respect your stuff, but like that sort of weird ego thing has always been a part of this industry, which is really weird. Because we all like the same shit. We should be best friends.
Yeah.
But it's like...
And that's probably just the, you have the ego part of where I've seen other people, and I hope I've never been that guy. I hope that's not the case. It's hard when you're 6'6" and 270, big guy and deep voice and that type of stuff. But I hope that's the case of just learning how to be, cool with everybody for as much time as you can. Mm-hmm. But it's amazing to me how many guys just really want to be superstars at any cost.
We see that a lot with, like, there's some talented guys here that are like, you see them struggling, but they want to be the guy so bad that they're like this one man thing that just barely making it. Like, why don't you come into something like this where, we could all do awesome stuff and you have all this talent, but they just want to be the guy. Like, they'll struggle and like just beat themselves up and just scrape by trying to be the guy.
Man.
Yeah, it's so weird.
And I've interviewed a few guys that have come in that kind of work at home in their backyard and do that stuff. And they come into my shop and they're like, oh, my shop's just like yours. It's just not this big. And I'm like,
okay.
I've seen your Instagram page. Like, you're welding this up right next to the lawnmower. It's
Basically the same.
More or less, just same but different. I mean, yeah.
yeah, basically. And it's like, but we all want to act like we have it all together when we don't. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where you got to learn to ask questions. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really been a lot of my secret is I just want to get the answer to the question, even if it makes me look stupid. Yeah. Some guys are like, why are you calling me for that? You should know that. I'm like, well, I don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ego drives so much of our industry. Having a little bit of self-humility is such a powerful thing to like embrace, like you just said, reach out when you need it. Like, more often than not, there's an answer out there. And most people in our industry we're all like-minded for the most part. And it's like,
we're
man,
stupid enough to go into this business.
Exactly.
Yes. To do that, right up and chase stuff. Right. We should support each other like crackheads.
Totally should. We totally should.
Good reference.
Yeah. And then to take it to another place, take classes like what you've been putting on.
Yeah.
Really elevating the industry to a better place. Mm-hmm.
So if people are interested in taking your class, like what do they need to, where can they sign up?
Just on my website. There's a sign up on there for the website. There's a sign up on there for the 20 group. We need you to at least sign up to do the class, to go to the 20 group. Like, if you guys wanted to join the 20 group, I would just need you to be like, hey, we're going to take the fall class. Mm-hmm. So that you're not behind for the rest of your life. You're just behind until the class. We're just doing one class a year now. Troy and I are trying to find the balance between still being car builders and being class teachers.
Yeah.
As we're not well-spoken. My hands move a lot. I had to wear t-shirts and do that type of stuff. And but we really enjoy helping those in doing those things. Mm-hmm. The 20 groups turned out to be a lot more work than I thought, but I think it's been really good. And that's going to be we just do the Zoom thing, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours once a month. We have a meeting this Friday, which will be whatever the 9th or something, I think it is, of May. And so that's really good. Yeah, I still want to build cars.
Yeah.
And that's been my biggest thing. I've had, SEMA wants me to come put on a infomercial and wear some fancy pants and do that.
I was going to say, we lean into a bunch of those seminars and stuff and pick them out. I'd be like, that'd be a great place to sort of introduce your program.
Yeah, I can't imagine any reason why they wouldn't be reaching out to you for some of those seminars there. For sure.
They have, but they want you to do it. They want you to do it as you give a discount to somebody so they become a member of SEMA. And I'm not anti-SEMA. I don't want to get into, and I don't want to do these classes it's a ton of work.
No doubt.
Like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Like, we used to do the class we started at noon on Friday, and then it was all day Saturday, and we quit at noon on Sunday. And now we just do it all day Friday and all day Saturday. And I need Sunday to just not talk to anybody.
No doubt. Imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Done. I home and just leave me alone.
Yeah. So your social battery is empty.
Dead for like the next month.
Empty. But Troy and I really we put a lot of effort into it. Him and I usually meet or talk on Friday night to see where we think everybody is. The class is $3,500.
Yeah.
Some people think it's a lot of money. I think everyone has gotten more than their money's worth out of the class. If you have a one-man shop, it's going to take you longer than, there's another guy. There's one guy that, he went home and raised his labor rates to all of his customers right away, which I thought was crazy. And he was making $4,000 more a week.
That's amazing.
After the class.
We've been following it for a while now, and I've listened to you on multiple different podcasts, and it's kind of progressed to a point where it's like, I don't think we can afford not to take the class.
I think, and really, you don't all need to come. Whoever is dealing with the customer the most directly, so that, because we have to work on your mindset to do that. If you're just the guy that's running the guys in the shop, you don't need to come. You can come. I tell people this all the time, and they bring their business partner or they bring, whatever. But it'll help, I think, if you're both there. But really, I would send the guy who deals with the customers directly and gives the customers their experience. So from marketing to the whole process of the build, whoever that person is, that's who I would send to the class. We've had guys whose wives come and the wife comes and makes the guy come because they just know that they're not making any money and they need to fix this, and the wife has a really good job and they're supporting them and they're tired of it. And so they think I'm going to fix them like the dog whisperer or something. And so, but that's really the gist of what we do. So, this I think will be our 9th class in September. It'll be at my shop in Bakersfield. It's long days. They're 10, 11 hours of sitting in chairs. We've invested in chairs that are very expensive because you sit in them a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have limited amount of space available even so.
Yeah. We tried to find the number. We used to have a max number of like 15.
Yeah.
I think there was only one class we didn't sell out. We had one that had 15, but had a whole bunch of quiet people in it. So we didn't feel like it was quite as successful, but I don't really know what they understood. A lot of guys came back and said they all said it was great.
Yeah.
But it just makes, when they're not vocalizing what they're saying, and because it's really more of a boot camp than a class. I feel like a lot of the things we say, these guys' wives might have already said to them, but because these guys think we're cool, they listen to us.
I think that's a big part of it. Like, listening to industry-based stuff from other people that are actually doing it makes it a lot more digestible. Because, like, even in listening to Roaster Shop's podcast for, like, probably the first year, it was like getting to listen to people that had all these parallel experiences to us, where it's like, okay, I'm not a complete idiot. These people struggled through that too, and they dealt with this and they dealt with that. So being able to see your shop, and even in your YouTube stuff and the way it's presented and the way you present yourself, it's like, it's an easy thing to digest, because it's like, hey, this guy's done it, he's doing it, and you want to emulate it. So it's like, coming from you, it'd be an easy thing for me to, whereas I get a lot of people telling me shit, and it's like, what do you can't even, you don't even have your own shit together, so don't give me advice. Like, you know, so being able to see it from like you, it's like,
and that's where we've done 2 classes at Troy's in Illinois, and we've done the other classes at here. And really, Troy and I've been trying to figure out how to do it, but I probably take over and talk too much. So I went Troy, like, I feel like which it may not be the truth, but I feel like our classes go over better from my understanding when it's in my shop, because I can point out to you all the psychotic things that I do to make the shop easier to clean up, to make up all these, you know, the poop lights were one of the things that we did, to where you can just see when someone's in the bathroom, because you have to go through a door to get to the bathrooms in this shop. And so there's a light in the shop that tells you if this bathroom or that bathroom's occupied.
Oh, nice.
And so by doing that, it just makes my guys not have to go over and be like, hello? Different things like that, and the way we track stuff. But it's all what I'm preaching in the class is what you're seeing firsthand. And I went crazy. We polished the floors in here when we moved in, and I took new pallet racks so they all match and had them powder coated gray. You know, and there's a lot of stuff that's nice. I started doing those banners because I got tired of seeing all the stuff that was behind it, even if it's organized.
Yeah, I pointed that out to him. I was like, that's genius. Oh, that's smart. I was like, it's inspiring and it solves a problem.
Yeah.
Yes. And so there's a lot of guys who go home and do those same things. And but I don't feel like you have to powder coat the pallet racks. Like, you can, and we say this in the class, like, yes, I'm at a point where I can powder coat the pallet racks and it looks nicer than the orange, you know, the orange bars and the green uprights, but you can dress nice in cheap clothes. Or when you see guys that have like 4 different kinds of pallet racks, they're all different heights, they're all different stuff, and they haven't touched the stuff that's on the top of those pallet racks in 10 years, because you could grow corn on the dust. Like, there's just all those things, like, it's just little things, man. And that's a lot of the stuff we covered.
Yeah, some of that stuff, like, sort of growing through this whole thing is like, it seems frivolous when you're grinding it out and you don't have a lot of extra money to be doing those type of things. So it's like you dismiss it. But now, like, we just moved into our big building and condensed a bunch of stuff and redid it and made it all super nice. And it's like, right away, it's like, man, we should have done this 10 years ago. Like, but at the time you're like, okay, we don't need to buy that. Like, that seems stupid, but I wish you had.
I would challenge you to go, if you have an appearance, however your current appearance is, and if you do all these things, powder coat the pallet racks and polish the floors or epoxy the floor, whatever you do, if you make it look nicer and you hand people a contract and you have digital time clocks and you update them weekly, how much more an hour would that be worth?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Like, the portrayal of what, you know, of this guy who doesn't have any shelving, or, you know, and we use this example in the class of, say you got a DUI and your friend said, hey, this attorney friend of mine is good, he wins all of his cases. Where you walk into you get to his address where they said his office is, and it's like a half house in the back, and you're like, hello, like trying to find the guy, and he's like, oh, hey, how's it going? And he comes out and he's dressed like me, and you walk in there and he's in this office that isn't sheetrocked yet.
Yeah,
like, you know this guy wins every case, but what's your gut feeling on him getting you out of this DUI or murder charge or whatever it is? Feeling at this point, based solely on nothing that has to do with his ability to defend you.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that stuff is super valid and so we start to go, so what would make you feel better? Okay, a lot of guys are like, well, some sheetrock would be a good start. Well, what about insulation? Does he need to put insulation in there before he does that? Because you're not going to see it. I mean, it'd make the office more climate controlled, this desk that he has in this picture looks like this. And I could send you the picture if you need it.
I'll be at the class. I'll get to see it.
It's totally the ambiance of what you're selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when some guy walks in, they're like, man, you guys are serious. Like, you're serious. You're not just here messing around. Like, and I feel like our door is locked. We have a key code on it. And so to get in, you have to do that. And it says we're not open. And,
Nice.
And so I'm not worried if somebody shows up unannounced.
Yeah.
And so, but I do those same things of just trying to, but the customers who are here, they know the code.
Yeah.
They just push the code in, and I guarantee you they feel part of the club.
That's exactly what we were just talking about.
That's so
funny
good.
you said that, because I was like, now we're in the lower portion of our building. I was like, nobody's getting down here unless they're spending money. This is it. Like, this is a private club now, because we got so many walk-ins and just take up all your time. I was like, we're locking the doors, and they thought it was a joke, but we didn't. We just locked the doors. Like, if you don't have an appointment and you don't have business here, you don't get to come here anymore. And it's made a huge.
If you're not going to have us build a car because I didn't answer the phone today, or you couldn't walk in to see this, and you can't understand that I'm focused on efficiency, and not making sure that some guy that shows up unannounced is taken care of.
Wow.
I'm good. I'm good with that.
Yeah, we're okay.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the, it's been so amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the words of wisdom. I'm
Hopefully
sure
we could go for a while. It's been 2 hours.
I know. I was just like, oh my, this is probably one of our longest podcasts.
I think it might be our actual longest spot.
I warned you.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he told me literally.
There's so much more in the conversation, this short conversation that we had today to unpack. It would be amazing and an honor to have you on again sometime in the future. This has been really, really great. I hope everyone listening and watching has gleaned a little something from this, because I know we all did. And you're an inspiration to us as business owners, to the customers out there looking at and getting something from you. I mean, I'm sure their experience is nothing short of extraordinary, fun, and enjoyable. And that's exactly what each and every one of us is looking to try and emulate. So thank you so much.
It's all doable. Troy tries to tell me that I'm in La La Land, and I'm like, I was broke as a joke when I started this thing, and I own the building now, and we're offering top tier benefits, and we're doing all those things, but it's not easy.
No doubt.
It takes time, and I just look at all the things that we still do wrong. So I think when you think word inspiration, I'm like, you're drunk. I get my poop still stinks.
Oh my God.
Now you're stacking those mistakes as lessons learned, right?
No, you have to. You have to. Like, that's the best way to learn.
Yeah, 100%.
Because if you let this mistake slide by and you don't take something out of it, you just wasted it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If I crash on my mountain bike, I want to know why, so I don't crash again.
Exactly.
Because I was too far forward and I went over the bars, or whatever it is. Like, you have to learn from those things, and that's free education. There really is no such thing as free education, because it's going to have a cost somewhere.
Yeah,
absolutely, it is. Yeah.
So thank you so much again.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, again, for people that are interested or that want to check out your website, it's Ironworks Speed Kustom.com with a K. Yes. And you can check them out on Instagram as well. They post some amazing content on YouTube too. And so with that said, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you guys later. Bye.